good afternoon, good evening, everybody. However you happen to be watching and or listening to this, I want to welcome you to the latest episode of the Gaming Circle podcast. Yeah, the podcast where this week we are excited because we have very interesting news to discuss, and we have a great guest to discuss it with. I'm your host, Mr. K. Asante, TKO Asante on all the places we communicate, and I, of course, am joined by my brother from another mother, the man that makes this show run, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Everborn Saga. Good morning, sir. Show off that shirt.
How you doing? All right. I didn't know I was gonna shill so early, but we got a new
Right on
shirt
top.
on the
Let's go.
everbornsaga.com store. The axe forgets, but the tree remembers.
There
If
you
you
go.
know, you know. This is a quote from Godwin from the comics. This one is made by Adidas. I don't know what finger I'm using because the camera's backwards. But on the store right now, Adidas.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's real nice. Well done, sir. I like the new styles that you're coming out with, man.
Too, if you see.
Yes. And of course, shilling over. Of course, we are excited because, as I said, we have a great new guest. Mr. Everborn Saga has put me onto this man's stuff some time ago, and those who know us and know this show, Everborn is not a man who gets easily excited. You know, his excitement usually shifts into the second gear and no further.
I want to say hey yo, but I'm gonna let you finish wherever you're going with this. I'm gonna let you
go ahead. Yeah. But for some reason, this man kept telling me to listen to this gentleman's content, and I did, and I understand why. And we are so grateful to have him on the show to lend his voice and his intelligence to the proceedings. From his own YouTube channel, I want him to expound and tell us who he is and where he's from and why he brings what he brings to the fair. Ladies and gentlemen, VG Fight School joins us. VG, welcome, sir. How you doing this morning?
Thank you. I'm doing good, Mr. K. Asante. Appreciate the invite. Happy to be here. Just to let someone else run the show. You know, when you're in the business of content creation, it's nice to just kick back and share your ideas without a lot of the pressure of you know exactly what I mean. So this is really nice.
All the
I appreciate
background
the opportunity.
stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well,
before go ahead.
Yeah, you said something about you had a question just now.
Yeah. Please, just for those who may not know your content, those who go, hey, you know, well, we have lots of different kinds of content creators on here. Maybe talk a bit about what brought you to this content creation game. You know, why, what kind of content your channel provides, that kind of stuff.
Okay, well, I started out YouTube, I think it was in 2016, October 2016. I was working on another channel, making content surrounding Tom Clancy's The Division 1, the first game that came out. And it was born from the idea, I teach school professionally. That's what that's what I do. And so there was a summer holiday that I had, and that summer break was such a stressful year. We just moved. And I said, I'm just going to take the summer and I'm just going to relax and play video games. But one thing everybody knows is an idle mind can either frustrate you or get you into trouble. So by the end of that summer, I was very frustrated because I thought I wasted my time. And while playing The Division that year, a bunch of my friends on PlayStation with me said, hey, you always in the know about this game. You know what the latest gear is. You know what is happening. Why not just make a YouTube channel like these other guys? In the space at that time was Skill Up, a gentleman named Marco Style, and another gentleman named Wids, and then a host of a few other content creators. So I said, I guess. So I kicked off making content, and so that was my training. You know, you learn on the job. So I get a microphone, I get I build a gaming PC, and I'm doing all of this stuff. I also wanted to play the game on PC. So that gave me kind of a proof, in a sense, of concept of how my content creation style is. So I've done it all. I've done scripted videos, unscripted videos. I've done live streams. I know the tolerance for what it is that I like. A lot of my audience asks me to do live streams, and I'm like, guys, I've tested this thing years ago. I'm not really fond of doing them myself. I enjoy being on a live stream that someone else is hosting and doing, because it's a different gift, you know, to be able to sit patiently and do all of this, do the setup, have a co-host and all of that. That is absolutely not within my temperament at this moment anyways. You never know, it may change. And so that became a thing. And then what you have as VG Fight School channel was born from that. So I started making content about the gaming industry, about different things, because I wanted to. Division 1 was kind of done, end of life, and then there was this big huge timeline between no content and then. So I was like, I want to make content about the gaming industry. A lot of things were changing. EA, which you have something for us to talk about them today, also they had canceled a Star Wars game with Motive Studios, something like that. And they came out with this statement saying that, when we did our testing, a lot of gamers didn't like, it seemed like they wanted to come back to these experiences. Basically, what they were saying was that live service games was where they felt a lot of player engagement was. The gaming community in the vocal side was up in arms. Everybody said EA sucks. EA doesn't know what they're doing. And I was part of that. But I wish I'd been looking at the data. I would have absolutely seen that they were actually right, even though it sounded and felt wrong.
Mm.
So I was making a little bit of content surrounding that, but my audience was like, we want to watch Division videos. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna quit this. Then I started making just straight up superhero games content on the Video Game Fight School channel. And after Gotham Knights, and then no other games, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League didn't do well. I said, you know what? Let me try this again. So I started talking about it, and I started to get a lot of feedback, all kinds. And I said, the middle ground is just sharing the knowledge that is available here. And so, behold, I'm talking about this, and I'm looking at the data, and the data is informing me and is confirming and affirming the things that I disputed in the past. And so I was like, this is exactly where we need to be. We need to watch the industry from behind the curtain, as well as out. We need to look at it from all perspectives. And so VG Fight School channel was born. There's a lot of intellectual tussling, fighting off a lot of the, I would say negative feedback in some sense, not necessarily fighting all of it off, but actually adjusting to ensuring that I can bring a lot of people along. It's taking a while. It's taking a toll, but I'm enjoying the process. And that's usually the best part of it. Once you start enjoying the process, it's a lot of fun. And that this is out of my comfort zone because my content is a little out of where I would like to be, because I actually address other content creators. It's not something I do naturally. If you go watch my other Division videos, every time I address another content creator, it's usually in a friendly, cooperative manner. But in this particular case, because we're arguing the validity of ideas, I have to do that. I'm not trying to, engage their person, but engage their ideas. And that's not easy to do. You have to walk a fine line so that you're not disrespectful or whatever it is. So that's the difference with this content piece. And it's the side that I feel like, it's the biggest challenge overall more than anything. But yeah, that's a 20-second bite of the entire timeline in relation to what it really looks like.
Yeah, so I don't know how I got on to your stuff. I think YouTube kind of recommended it to me, and I watched, and I was like, okay, this guy's pretty smart. What I like about your content is, and I think it just comes from you being an educator, right? It's like you're talking to some people like they're children, but you're trying to teach them something. I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way, right? Like you speak like an educator because you want to take people on a journey and make them understand, all right, here's the data that we're looking at. Here it is. Here is the way that people are saying things. And then here's the data to here's the reality. Here's the data. And here's a story for how you can understand it. And the other thing is, I need to understand how you do so many videos a day. I wake up at 5 o'clock every morning. There's a VG video right there that was posted 10 minutes ago. I go to sleep at midnight. There's a VG video that just got posted. I'm having my lunch at 2 o'clock. There's another VG video. Like, there are 5 to 6 videos a day. I do not know how you do it, sir.
Okay, I'm going to just spill the beans because it sounds like it's fantastic, but in reality it's basically me looking at the grand scale, like what you guys are doing. The way you say you're amazed by what I'm doing, I'm also amazed by what you're doing. You're doing a 2.5-hour podcast once a week, right? So in a 1 hour podcast, right, that's literally 6-10 minute videos of some sort, right?
Yeah.
In a 2 hour podcast, it's double that and then half that. So in my mind, every day I'm just doing what I think is about an hour worth of content, but I'm also making the content as short as I possibly can in many cases. So 8-10 minutes. I look at an issue and I just speak on the issue like I would just sit down and just shoot, with friends of mine. And so in many cases, I'll do that. Now, over time, you start gathering tools, right? Your bookmarks and you look at a topic, maybe related data, and in real time, I'll even do a search. I'll be like, okay, what was this thing? And I'll just like literally like right there, search it. I don't do edits much. I'll do an edit once in a while. And so that cuts down. And so having to streamline all the time is what really has helped me, with a lot of this. Also having a family and, kids, and I'm sure, you gentlemen are, very cognizant of this. It really puts you in like a real hyper focused mode to know what your quotas are in terms of that. And 6 videos was not what my intention was. The reason I make 6 videos, I think, a day, maybe some less, was because of how evolving the gaming scene was. I would make videos, and by the time the video is scheduled to come out maybe tomorrow, the whole news has changed. We haven't, I'm just like, that was almost a waste of effort. You know what I mean? And I know there's nothing wrong with that. It's good to have your information updated so that you don't go out there and publish something that is outdated. But I was like, well, if I'm going to make these videos, I might as well publish them so that when the news changes, I just come back and just update what the prevailing knowledge is. So I found out I was making like 5 videos already sitting there, and now I'll publish 3 and then stay ahead. So lead time, keeping my lead time, like, okay, I got to have enough videos because, get up, go to work, come back. So before I go to work, make 1 video. That's just 10 minutes of my morning routine, or 2 videos, 20 minutes of my morning routine, right? And then I come back, make 2 videos. And then when the kids are in bed and everyone's all settled down, make 2 videos. But I have to have enough videos to kind of lead. So like on a Friday and Saturday, I'll make a good number of videos to kind of have that lead time, and then I schedule them. I started doing a 4-hour scheduling because I look at my audience makeup in terms of when your active audience is on the internet. And it's usually during the day because everyone's like, most of the audience is in North America. But I was like, how about my UK audience and my audience from Russia? That's like the 2%, like the 1%. They can keep those videos rolling until the West wakes up and then continues with that. So I was like, I'm just going to catch everybody at every time of the day that I can catch them. And so I just scheduled the videos in a 4-hour cycle. So basically 24 hours, VG is just talking about the gaming industry. Because everybody else is already has a louder voice, a better reach. If you look at all of the other content creators, and I was like, the only way I can actually like make an impact if I'm noisy enough, and that's me making noise, and then eventually dialing down. So when do I dial down? I think I've started testing out my dial downs. There's some days I've done only 4 videos only. And I've done only 5 videos. and I'm watching the cadence as to where, the viewership and what the viewers, prefer. Some viewers have actually even called me out. Hey, what's my midnight video? I'm like, whoa, all right, I'll keep the midnight videos going.
Wow.
Because some people work, night shifts. They want to listen to, your content. So I've created a taste, and I'm like, okay, great. I'll get the midnight videos, as a regular thing. Maybe I might need to do away with the 8 p.m. videos. So I'm just using all of the cheat code that I learned from the Division days to go ahead and, just provide content on this new channel. And there's a lot that's changing. That's a lot that comes out. In fact, honestly, there's a lot that I don't report on because I just cannot. I mean, you can only do so much in a given day. Plus, and I got to say this because my Division content creator friends, they know, we know each other and we know our work. The Division required for you to actually play the game for good amounts, like, a good amount of hours to be able to get your gear and all of that stuff. But in covering gaming news, I'm not saddled with that responsibility. Actually, I just play other games or whichever game is relevant that I want to talk about. And that's reduced my workload by at least 80%. So what you're seeing is 20% of my content creation work that I've done in the past. Because Division was very, very heavy. Like just, playing an RPG, I mean, and then making videos on it and reporting on it, all of these things, have really, really helped me to just be able to put out content at the cadence that I do. I mean, I don't know if that makes.
No. It makes perfect sense. And if you were to include what we do in the Discord, it would be it would be a similar thing. We are in there because a lot of us work from home, the GCP community, and we are in there while we're working, sometimes 8 hours a day. And it's not even about video games that we talk about all the time, but like
it's all manners of grown man talk and gaming as well. So yes, I guess this is the part where we do a cheap plug. Join the Discord, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't joined the Discord, do so. Also, VG Fight School. I put the link in the chat multiple times. If you have not joined his YouTube channel, please click the link and join him. A lot of interesting conversations to be had there.
Thank you.
I will say VG Fight School goes very well with coffee in the morning. I make my espresso every morning while I listen to the VG video that just happens to be waiting, and that's you've become part of my morning routine, sir.
Well, I am honored. Thank you very much, because mine is like something that I would hope to be able to have some coffee as well too while doing it. But man, it's just sometimes crazy. You get up, you go to bed late, you get up and you're just thinking about the day and such. And yeah, Discord, man. So you guys have an active Discord. And that's one thing that I actually told myself that I was not going to invest time in. Not because I don't desire to have a strong Discord community, but because I knew I wouldn't have time for content creation and other responsibilities. So in the past, out of pressure, I mean, I think it was my audiences that said you need to get a Discord, and I was like, if I get a Discord, it's going to be inactive. And except there are people who want to run it or people who want to moderate, and I've had Discords, but my Discord channel is just lay melancholic, which is fine. I'm not I'm not you guys know the saying where the more no's that you can say, the better your quality of life can be. So I just have to say no to a lot. So that's where the 6 videos comes from. No Discord management. So yeah, if anybody's wondering, if you want to do 6 videos a day, then just sacrifice Discord time and
honestly
podcast time.
The only reason why, and we're a bunch of graybeards here, I'm not a big fan of Discord, but it's become a necessary evil. The only reason why we're so big in our Discord these days is because it's the way to get away from X and all the negativity. Sometimes it's on the timelines and all this. And we're building a strong community of like-minded and people who want to talk games and certain demographic. And it's just kind of growing and becoming something that's worthwhile. More often than not, we may not even be in our Discord, and we'll come and see that lots of great people have been having awesome conversations. It's become a thing on its own. So, by the way, people, join the Discord.
I just, I kind of, as of late, the last couple of months have not like, I'm not one of those people make an announcement I'm leaving Twitter, but I've just kind of fallen back, right? Because
I am leaving Twitter, ladies and gentlemen. Goodbye. Okay,
right. That's like the James Brown thing where he pretends he's getting off stage and then
it comes back.
And it comes back out. Yeah, so that's always annoying to me. So I just kind of have been posting less. I don't because the timeline is just kind of full of sometimes bad, sometimes disingenuous takes, and usually I would comment on them, and I lost the energy to do that. And I felt like it was the same people arguing about the same things. And so I will go and check every now and again just to see if there's some news there. But usually, because the Discord is so active, I kind of get my news right there. And then we'll talk about it in line. And I feel like, when you talked about there's only so many hours in the day, I found myself in the past, I was doing more scrolling than I was gaming, and I was being stressed out by the doom scroll, and it's like I don't know if I need that in my life, right? So I just had to kind of reassess where I was putting my time, because that's the finite thing, that's the real currency you realize as you get into your middle age. So I just said I can't, my account's not deleted. I check in every now and again, but I'm not really on there like that. And I come into Discord and I'm here every week, and that's what I had to do with my time if I wanted to, because some people are just angry all day.
True. And they want they want a reason to be angry. And if you take the reason away, they find a new reason.
So
it is what it is.
So here's the beauty of this. Every day I interact with at least 100 people, right? At work, anyways. I'm on break, so this is nice. And I think some of my friends have told me that I'm an introvert. I don't know if I am. I think I'm more like I can morph to be an extrovert or an introvert at any given time, I think.
Introverted extrovert. Yeah.
I think so. But in the interactions with, numerous people, you can see so many streaks of our, of our human side, that it's interesting to be able to deal with such huge amounts of adversity at the same time, because like you said, there are a lot of combative, people. And honestly, I see it as and this is something that I learned a long time ago from, just my faith and stuff. When you're having discussions with people, I grew up in Nigeria, and Nigeria is like 40-something% Muslim, 40-something% Christian, and then there's traditional. So religion will come up, politics will come up. There are about 300 people groups. Differences will come up. I mean, everybody. This guy does this thing this way. You do this thing that way. He thinks his way is the best. You think your way is the best. So learning how to coexist
and distinctly African. And by the way, I come from Ghana, so I understand.
Your last name gave you away. My neighbor.
I put it out there. Asante, you know where I'm coming from. And everyone believes theirs is the opinion that everyone must believe.
Oh yes.
Oh boy, it's the navigation.
Oh yes. So you, as in that context, you need to learn how to deal with ideas in a respectful way, and all of this. And so, looking at all of that, you have to say, man, okay, these are ideas. Yes, these are real people in many cases behind the screens, and these are their ideas, or they may be feigning or faking who they are because they have anonymity. So learning how to, just ask. Sometimes that's why I lead with questions, because I want to know if truly this is your idea, if you're maybe, just wanting to be, abrasive or whatever it is. And I can always tell from their answer.
Real quick, our other Nigerian brother's asking the question. Ty, yes, he is from where he's also Nigerian, also from Ireland, actually. Ty is from. So yes,
I'm
shout
from
out
Nigeria.
to Ty Talks. Yes, but yes, I suspected as much. No, please continue.
Yeah, so that what Everborn is alluding to here, is just one of those unfortunate challenges of our human nature that we have to deal with, because we're dealing, even though we may be talking about gaming, behind gaming and the force of gaming and the entire foundation of gaming is people, the gamers.
Yes.
So
and as we get older, all the isms come with it, even if we're talking gaming, right? And we know the isms we're talking about. This brings up a lot of our conversations on Discord. So yes, very very much like-minded, very very much so. Yeah. Interesting. Very good. Very good.
It's also I'm one of those people that's very big on kind of vibrations, right? And like I feel like if you constantly kind of consume kind of negativity, that manifests itself in your real life. And I just felt like it was becoming too much of that, and I kind of had to step away, just like for like personal sanity or mental whatever, right? It was like a cesspool of angry for no reason. But anyway,
yes.
Let's get to what we came here to get to. What do you have first on the docket? Now, VG, we normally do what we're playing at the top of the show, but we decided to move that to the back of the show because we end up spending 2 hours on what we're playing and then never getting to the main topics. So we're going to get straight into the meat and potatoes and then have the appetizers after.
So what we're saying is the bloviating gets high. So we're going to keep this. We're going to flip it. See how this goes. So
sounds good.
Actually, we have a bunch of stuff to talk about today, but I think we should start at the top with the biggest story. And I picked the biggest story, and I'm choosing this specific story as the biggest for a reason. And Everborn will know exactly what I'm talking about. And what am I talking about? I am actually let me share the story first before I even talk about it. I'm talking about the new changes that Microsoft is purportedly making to their update system. I kind of feel like that's a monster ramifications for the future, and it might be leading to that other conversation that we're gonna have. But I don't think people have taken that one as seriously. Everborn, why don't you set us up on?
Yes. So if you use Windows, we're all familiar with Windows Update. And if you have a gaming PC or you have a handheld, one of the biggest complaints people tell you about is like there's updates, and you got to update your drivers in one place, and then you got to update your apps in another place, and then you got to update your games from your launcher store, and it's all those things. Microsoft right now, this is unrelated to gaming, this is more for IT managers, but this would benefit gaming. They want to have Windows Update, the thing that updates your Windows, and it'll do it on a schedule and things like that. Because you know how you'll just wake up and boom, now you got Windows 11 with some new AI bullshit. Sorry, that was my one.
That's your one.
But it does handle it in the background, right?
Yeah.
And so what Microsoft it wants to roll out is a new orchestration platform that allows every developer to utilize what they've built with Windows Update. So your updates can just happen in the background. And then you can kind of wake up, your drivers are updated. Hopefully they're not broken. But just like, I go on the Steam Deck, right? Or Steam OS or Bazite, and I just go into the settings, do the update. All the updates happen in one place when you're in Steam OS. And that's effectively what this would be. Now, in the enterprise space, I'm sure IT managers would love this instead of having to orchestrate their own updates. But I think for the gaming space, on top of all the UI updates that need to happen to Windows, this is a huge piece of getting that sort of ease of use, right? Having it just update everything in the background to the point where you don't have to think about it as the user.
Now I should mention, enterprising users can actually do this already. There are scripts that you can run that automatically set up like control schedulers, as what they called, and it'll literally do updates in the background for you. But this is for anyone and everyone, for like developers and normal users to just then be able to have updates happen in the background. And the reason I bring this up first and why I think it's such a big deal is because it really does speak to the other story as far as their desire to make Windows the actual righteous platform for something like a handheld like this, right? Because right now it's not the righteous platform for that. But with all of these updates, seemingly that's where they're trying to head. VG, what are your thoughts on this? How is your experience with using Windows and all of this? Are you a gamer on Windows? Or are you a gamer on console? How does this stuff reach you?
I game on PC.
Okay.
Major gaming is done on PC. I will play on the consoles. The Division clan is on PlayStation. Wonderful group of gentlemen. I've known some of them since the PlayStation 4 days, and but on PC, that's where I've done a lot of my gaming because of content creation. So Windows has been a part of my life for a long time. I think, what was it, when I was in elementary school, the one that my computer teacher showed us, it may have been
3.1.
I can't remember. I don't even remember. I don't even remember. But I know 95 was the one that I was cognizant enough to be like, oh yeah, and then 98, and then all the others. But I think what Microsoft is doing from a business perspective is they're leveraging the low cost and low impact. And I just thought about this, and it may sound crazy, but this is what I think. It's my opinion. They're leveraging the low cost and the low impact of Asus's drive to want to capture a piece of the hardware market to streamline their software before they get into the business. It makes sense. Asus is a hardware company. Asus is a daring company. They're the guys that'll go out there and make the crazy, insane item. I mean, their GPUs,
the
their
triple
laptops,
screen things.
yeah, they
yes,
are
absolutely.
insane.
Yes.
And so it's like Asus wants to make a handheld for gaming, they've probably looked at everybody else and said, okay, we've done one with the Windows, and what can we leverage even more? Or maybe Xbox walked up to them and said, hey, you want to make a branded partnership or whatever it is, and they jumped on the idea. Well, what's that thing going to run? It needs to run some kind of a Windows emblemed or whatever operating system, or an Xbox operating, something that does appeal and is compatible for the Xbox user. Well, they're committing to the hardware and the manufacturing process and the distribution process and all we have to do is just keep doing what we're doing, Microsoft thinks in their minds. And so pay the developers. We're already paying our developers, right? Hey guys, everybody, let's get back to the drawing board. Let's streamline this software to be able to work as cleanly as it possibly can on any hardware device that is willing to run it. So the traditional Windows is the best starting point. And so what are the biggest concerns that users have had for Windows? I think that's why we're seeing these things. This is based on my assumption, and I think I'll be safe to assume this, is that Microsoft is pulling from its user experience data in terms of feedback from customers to go ahead and streamline their Windows operating system to do it all. It's a wonderful opportunity for them from their software side. I'm not even looking at their gaming side. It just happens to be there's a crossover now. They're looking at the potential market that they have access to. Phil Spencer's dream of 3 billion gamers. He's probably gone up to the Windows guys and said, hey, we have a mutual benefit possible here, and everybody is on board and on deck to to get the job done. So looking at that handheld space and looking at the whole PC space, it's a solid move. Even a gentleman that has been somewhat critical of Xbox that worked in the gaming space, I will leave names unmentioned, even he came around, and I had to wipe my eyes and say, wow, he said this was a good move. I mean, I don't think Xbox or Microsoft needs his approval, but just seeing how even he thinks that this is a solid move is because of his experience. And if you think about it from even the game developer side, everybody stands to benefit from this overall. So I'm glad that maybe gaming might be one of the catalysts to have pushed them this way. So
yeah,
that's what I'm seeing so far anyways. I would love to get my hands on this Asus Rogue thing with Xbox, but I would love for it to also be very centered on exactly what it's designed to do, gaming. I don't want to say anything like, oh, they need to cut down their operating systems capabilities and go say something insane, which they probably need to do for handheld. Like, okay, does any of you have a Steam Deck?
I have almost every handheld out there these days.
Perfect.
Yes.
The Steam Deck has a handheld mode and a desktop mode. Perfect. There you go. Right? So if you notice, the desktop mode has its own use cases and all of the above. I strongly believe that what they need to just do is pretty much create some kind of a handheld layer for any hardware that runs Windows 11, and it will answer a huge slew of the third-party hardware question on the preliminary level. Now, as to their own, personal hardware, that's a different conversation. That's like an Xbox handheld. That's a whole different conversation. That's something that,
and we're gonna get into that, by the way. We're gonna get into that handheld talk. I think we need to pick that one apart.
Before we get there, I'm coining a new phrase here. And as you know, I also think the move makes sense, and we'll get into the critiques of it later. But Microsoft is a software company, right?
Oh, here he goes.
That's what they do best, right? The name is Microsoft, not Microhard, right? So,
big pause.
This is what they do best. They make operating systems. They make software. So, and they have one of the most robust partner programs, right? They work with all these hardware OEMs, and they've been doing so for the last 40 or 50 years, right? So it makes sense. PC gaming is bigger than ever. Console is converging with PC, right? We're not in the days where consoles had bespoke hardware like PowerPC or cell processors, right? Those days are long gone, And so ever since Gen 8, when Xbox and PlayStation moved to x86, you notice you'd had more parity in terms of content with console and PC. And so now that we're going in that direction, and when we look at where the growth on PC is, it makes sense that this is the logical path for a company that happens to have the largest gaming platform on PC, right? It's like 90 some odd percent, 97% of PC gaming happens on Windows. So why not take advantage of that? But we'll get there.
One properly. Let's close this one out. Do we see a world where, much like consoles, you can turn your machine on and there is no Lenovo installer, there is no NVIDIA installer, there is no all the various plethora of installers, but they all fall in line and do it the way we want? Or is this just one of those situations that will fall by the wayside because everybody still wants to do their own thing? What do you think?
Yeah, so this is something that, like, if you were a UWP app, you could have taken advantage of.
Yeah, this seems to be along the line of UWP. Yes,
right. But the difference is now this is going to work with anything, right? It's gonna if you got a MSI file, you got an executable, whatever you have that runs on Windows should theoretically just be able to run through this and let sort of Windows handle it instead of you having to schedule over the air updates, right? And I think it could become a standardized thing, and it does not require you putting your app in the Windows Store, and that's an important part of it. So I could see people allowing that to happen. We'll see it, I think, in enterprise first. And if that goes well, I think then you'll just see the outside apps do it. You'll see Adobe do it. You'll see hopefully NVIDIA and all these guys do it. So devil will be in the details, but I do think this is something that a lot of people will want.
VG, what are your thoughts? You think this is the step to that holy grail, or once again another Microsoft almost situation?
Oh man. Okay, so. Okay. How do I put this? I'm a PC purist in a sense because of the decentralization of the platform overall. That decentralization.
You like that?
Yes, that's exactly where I think, and this is also my opinion. That's where I think the platform is stronger to keep the companies honest and keep the gamer protected in a sense. Because the moment ASUS starts to act out, you can always call on Lenovo to hook you up because they want to capitalize on areas that they see as weak, from their competitor. And this is what I think has really made the PC ecosystem, one of those really fun ones at the end of the day, right? So the unified aspect of things, yes, we'll see some unification, but I think it's going to, everyone's still going to be looking out for their interests. You know what I mean? Like an Xbox. Okay, if Xbox were to, and this is something we're supposed to talk about later, if Xbox was to make its own Xbox branded handheld, it would have to have a huge distinctive factor from the others, at least, to appeal to Xbox gamers who want to buy it, right? ASUS, Lenovo, MSI, they all know their market and their audience. They've been selling other products to them. So they would also want to ensure that they continue to market to those audiences. And many of them may not necessarily have the goal in mind to have that unified system as well. They may want the flexibility to be able to dock and go into desktop mode and all of these other things. So I think everyone's going to have to still appeal to their markets. And, maybe there'll be some, like I said, that small, thread that joins everybody together. But I don't think that thread is going to weave into a big, huge rope anytime soon. It's just going to be these little things where it's like, okay, like, you have every handheld, right? And they have their unique selling points. They have things that are unique to you. So, and I think
each of them, yes,
exactly. So they know that you like these individual features, or these individual aspects to them. And so yeah, they'll go for it.
Actually, you know what? To that point, like so I'm testing out the MSI Claw right now. This is the MSI Claw. I have the Legion Go. I have a bunch of different devices. Each of them, to your point, has this unique feature that for someone like me who has all these different handhelds, I wish they could combine all of their strengths into one that does it all. But each of them does their thing specially great, and then everything else around it is lackluster. So you always end up using this for this and using that for that. It's a very odd place we find ourselves.
It is, and it's simply because, like I said, they all want to appeal to what it is that they feel like their consumers, or they feel like a consumer maybe testing out the market would like, in a sense. So that's why I didn't buy any other handheld once I got the Steam Deck. I was looking for the unified, and which is weird. As much as I say I like the decentralization, just like you, I want my device to have everything that I can. So once I got the Steam Deck, once I got the Steam Deck, I looked at everybody else and said, what do you have that I need? Nothing. What do you have that I need? Nothing. And I just said, no, I'll just stick with my Steam Deck. My Steam library is entirely accessible from here, even though I would love to access my Good Old Games library and my Ubisoft library. When I fire that thing up on my Steam Deck, there are all these methods and it's not compatible. I would love to see that, all come together. But I know that it's only one more handheld away for, you know what I mean? Which is like, I would love for all of them to come to be able to do all of that. But no, Valve doesn't want to do that whole Steam external launcher and encourage that. You know what I mean? I don't think they want to sit here and encourage that kind of behavior from Ubisoft and EA on their handhelds, which is nice. So that may speak to EA and say, why not take that silly requirement off and put the game natively on Steam so that people can actually... So that's where the
play
consumer
it properly.
The consumer protection is also one that, yes, we may want a unified system, but can we sacrifice that consumer protection that we enjoy? And that's a question mark thing. So I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Let's move on to the other story that I believe is related here. But before we do, let me catch up on a couple super chats in the chat here. We'll attach it to the exclusive Xbox sidelining their handheld thing in a minute. So Face BKNY prolific in our chat, taking the man VG to task. He says, with a $20 super chat, he says, VG Fight School, I don't agree with all of your opinions on Xbox on your channel. You sound like an Xbox talking head representative. And then he adds, with another $20 super chat, thoughts on Mikey Barra's response to someone asking him about Xbox sidelining their console hardware, and he said that they already did. The writing was on the wall with that one. So let's take it one at a time. You want to address BK and his thoughts on your thoughts on Microsoft and representative of all that? What do you think?
Okay, I mean that's fine. I mean that's I get that a lot. In fact, I made a few videos talking about how sometimes I get categorized as an Xbox, and this is coming from all sides. There are people who are Xbox players who say, like Dog Dark in the comments is there saying that I'm an honorary Xbot, and then you also have this. So this is not new. You have that claim from both sides and all sides. Yep. If I'm an honorary Xbot, or if I'm an honorary Xbox talking head representative, or if I'm and I put this out there, if I'm an iguana, it doesn't. I don't think it really impacts what's going on in terms of the gaming industry and what I try to point out. Now, maybe in some people's eyes, they may see that because the coverage is me basically focusing on the underdog, in quote, underdog. They're not the underdog, but in quote, in terms of the console space, they're the underdog, right? And the underdog, which is weird, is always takes over the news cycle, which is weird. How is Xbox the underdog always on on the news cycle? And then there are different opinions, and then there are different analyses about Xbox, and so that's where the conversation is happening.
Don't worry, Doc Dark is an honorary the fifth member of the Ninja Turtles. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. It is what it is. Shout out to Doc Dark.
And so, in seeing that, right? In seeing that the conversation is there, I walk into the space and I listen to what I'm seeing across the board, and some of the things don't line up with where the data is pointing us. And so I say, why did this person say that? For instance, you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? And so when I ask the question, why did they say that? And then everyone's like, because they think so. And I'm like, well, they can think all they want about it. There's nothing wrong with thinking about it, but it doesn't line up with the data. In fact, this year was a very interesting year. Remember that article that came out with the paywall? Everyone, do you remember? I think you sent me that article or so that said Activision's acquisition had not yielded anything, something along the lines from Microsoft. And then Microsoft themselves and Activision came out and addressed it with the data that was actually, you know, about what their acquisition had seen in terms of revenue growth and points added, right? That one had reached a tipping point where Microsoft, who had always been quiet about some of those things, had to come out up front to say something. How is pointing out the truth, and this is a question I ask everybody that says that. So BK, let me ask you directly. How is pointing out the truth and the data, you know, anything that leans towards being an Xbox representative or not? If those guys in Microsoft and Activision did not come out and say it, they had already published the financial reports in previous quarters for us to see exactly those same numbers. So whether they said it or not, the numbers were already there with the fiscal responsibility to the shareholders. So should we all just keep quiet and, you know, or should I be silent, you know, about it, or should I say something? Or should you say something? It doesn't matter if you're a PlayStation person or an Xbox person or a PC person or whatever. If you join the conversation I think should be, you know, one that's built on a foundation of us being honest and critical and accurate. If we don't have those, we're all just going to be sitting here hurling darts at each other all day, every day about, you know, all that. And, you know, that would just waste a lot of time. So it's just simple. Here's the, you know, the financial report. So that's, you know, that's to that particular question about being a Xbot or an Xbox representative, talking head or whatever it is. It doesn't bother me because I know exactly what I'm like. I'm sitting here going, whenever they say that, I'm like, man, if only they were correct, because I'm sitting here in front of my PC, like, and I have a PC in the living room. I have PCs in my office. My wife let me put a PC in the bedroom, so if the kids are making
you too,
noise, oh yeah.
Let's go.
So I'm as PC can get when it comes down.
You married well, sir.
Oh yes. I mean, she's
we
super cool.
around here we make fun of Everborn because he put his 4090 in the bedroom. We always make fun of him about it. But you too, sir. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
In fact, I switched out, and my 4090 is in the bedroom because I think I was trying out something.
This man got the 4090 in the bedroom too. Lord help us. All right. This is why you was all about
4090 and Barry White is a good Friday night. That's what I say. All right.
Well, all right.
But to that point, I think like, you know, we always get into a difficult place when we say, well, you're saying something, you're commenting on data or a statement and challenging it. And the idea that, well, that can't be listened to because I think that you have a certain preference for something. But even if that was your preference, what does it matter if the data is in front of your face?
That's the question that I've been asking,
right?
And that's why I've said, if I'm an iguana, if I'm freaking Eddie Murphy, you know, what does that, you know, what does it matter? Yes. And you know, and sometimes, you know, a lot of things, and they're fair questions as well to poke through it. And you know, honestly, and I'm gonna play a whataboutism just for a short bit. I wish PlayStation got half this amount of scrutiny. Back to the topic. If you say, for instance, like, you know, maybe a further question and say, well, but just because Microsoft said it doesn't mean it's correct. I say, sure. But how can we basically, you know, find out the integrity of what executives are stating, right? Actions.
Well, VG, just because some random person on Twitter said something doesn't mean it's true either. So statements need to be vetted. Assertions need to be challenged, and we just see, you know, where the debate takes us, right? That's all it is. It's either, hey, you said this, here is some data that says otherwise, or you have this perspective, here is another perspective.
The data never changes.
Or if someone says, that something negative about Xbox, the right thing to do is just not question it and let them talk, because Xbox bad or what? Like, what is the nature of debate or discourse?
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's continue, because the super chats are building. Let's address the second part of Face BKNY's super chat. He asked for our thoughts on the response that from Mikey Barra, basically saying that the writing was on the wall. He expected it the whole time. The fact that they went the hardware agnostic route was to be seen from a long time ago. Do we disagree with that?
I think that's been the goal. It's just how fast they get there, right? And I don't know about you, but Xbox has been dead for a decade, right?
You've been alive and dead for a decade.
You know,
yes.
Sure. That's definitely where they were going. And I think I'll go back to something that Phil said, which is ABK doesn't change our plans; it just accelerates them. And that might be what you're seeing now, right? Because at the end of the day, right, Activision, a company that had...
Hold on just a quick moment. Okay. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but Dr. Dry Rub is being crazy in our chat right now. The man is dropping all these codes, including Elden Ring Night Rain right now. Shout out to Dr. Dry Rub, brother. Wow. Well, all right. If you got that, shout out to Dr. Dry Rub, and because that is his name, I can say that, and I feel unabashed.
But it's not just that. I see Death's Door in there.
Death's Door is in there.
Potential game of the year 2021. We got some other ones in there too. He's not playing.
Salute to the man. Yeah. Shout out to you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming here and giving of such great codes to the community. We appreciate you, man. Thank you. So I'm sorry, you were saying, continue.
So I just think that's the nature of the debate, and Slow-Mo points out there are both sides that ignore the data that disprove their arguments. And sure, that may be true. People have their blind spots, but there'll be someone else to challenge. The point is, things should be challenged, right? Sure. So one person may be more knowledgeable in one area or have a preference towards one thing, so they're going to challenge something, and as long as they're not challenging it with lies, that's fine. If there's something they missed, I'm sure someone will pick up the slack and challenge in the other direction. And that, I'm just saying that is the point of discourse and debate, and we can't say that we should just let untruths or bad takes go, right? Like,
agreed. Agreed. And something that's really interesting too is, again, at first, I started just, putting out the data and all of that stuff. But I think what's happening now is that the narrative is changing. But, I also have to admit that everything can change, because it always changes. I should be number one aware of that, because, think about how, we thought one thing and then all of a sudden another thing has happened. We thought this handheld was going to be coming as soon as possible, but then it's like, no. A small decision has basically changed up the plan and moved things. But we need to continue to look for, because the gaming industry, number one, is operated under a shroud of secrecy in many cases. And this is why things can be really weird. And so whatever data sets or whatever, pieces that we can grab to the puzzle, that's why every single piece of it is important. So I'd say, by all means, verify the information. You don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to take anybody's word for it. Go ahead and verify the information. Like, some people say they don't trust Phil Spencer because, according to them, or according to maybe past events, Phil Spencer has said things that have not gone through. But many of them are not taking into account the reality that things change in the business, and sometimes you have to pivot from things that you've said before. Because if you say that, I can also point out, even executives from PlayStation making business claims that have drastically changed it. What is this? King James version? Has actually changed in the past, and in a more recent time from what it is that they said as well. So going on to just verify information at every step is, in my opinion, the best way that we can get down to
It's healthy.
what we.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the way to go, and we need to do that because again, everyone's got an incentive, to be first. Oh, I want to break the news or whatever it is. But just like Denzel said, what did he say? Everybody wants to be the first. He said if you read the papers, you're misinformed or something along the lines of that. I can't remember the exact set of quotes he said, but it's one of those things where we as the individuals are now, we're now burdened with a responsibility to find information and verify information and crowdsource to the point where we can ensure that we are, getting grounded, info that we actually go ahead, and deal with.
Yep.
And that's my position. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let me catch a couple here. I don't want to lose the thread, but they are building. So let me just get through them real quick, and then we'll get back to it because there are a few interesting nuggets I want to kind of pick apart a little for you guys. So first, the great Sycamore 7 $5 super chat. He says, well, it sounds like VG is a Steam Glizzy lover. My father Gabe has many rooms in his house. Welcome, sir.
The Gabe meme, man. I literally walked into PC gaming to play a Ubisoft game. So I download a Ubisoft launcher, I download Steam, I'm playing my Batman games, and then I realized that there's an entire meme cult around Gabe Newell, and I'm like, I don't know about this.
It is wild. It is wild. And of course, because this is the Gaming Circle podcast and we enjoy whenever any of our friends jump in and jump out, ladies and gentlemen, Paris Lilly joins us.
Hey,
what up, Paris?
First and foremost, good morning, and hello to you,
Paris?
VG Fight School.
Oh my gosh, hello, Paris! Goodness gracious!
I watch your videos. I've been in a few, for better or worse.
You have been in a
few. I enjoy your content.
Thank you. You have been in a few. Yes, you have been in a few. But again, it's one of those things where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to challenge an idea of someone who I know has been in the gaming industry talking about gaming news longer than I have. I mean, my division days, I used to watch your stuff and your coverage on E3. So when I had to basically go at that video, there was a lot of, okay, I'm going to have to do this. But I'm glad that you're here. It's nice to actually chat with you in person. Goodness.
No, absolutely. And if we could stick on that, what you just said for just a second before going into all that Xbox stuff, that's why it popped up. I appreciate that because I think again, social media is not real life, but what I think a lot of people don't realize is you may say something that you believe in that moment. And then kind of what you guys were talking about before, like with Phil Spencer, things change. So then what you said is no longer valid. So being able to challenge something like that and bring it up, that's totally fair game. I mean, that's the whole point of doing this. You're not always going to be right about the things that you think or your opinions on something. I guess someone pointed out to me, one of my faults is I'm very definitive in the way that I talk. So people are like, well, you said, and then that doesn't happen. So then they come at you, and that's all fair. That's just
Paris. Is it time to get the pitchforks?
Yes. Here's the thing. I'm glad you said that.
Low blow, sir.
No. It's not. It's not actually. It's not, because I meant what I said, and I still mean it.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed on that. If you are a fan of Xbox and they sold you on exclusivity, which was the reason that you bought a Series X, and now you're seeing Halo and Gears and everything else on a PlayStation, and you can't afford to go buy a PlayStation, you goddamn right you should be mad. 100%. There's that is valid. They changed their strategy in the middle of a generation, not at the end, not, hey, as we go into this next one, we're going to do this. No, in the middle of this generation, they switched. So if that bothers you, that is 100% valid to be upset about that.
Yeah, Paris, and to that end, right? Not everybody buys. Most people don't. Not everybody buys consoles for exclusives, and whether they should buy them or not, the fact is some people did buy them for the promise of exclusives. True. And those people are whatever. My point in making the joke is, people, you might be clipped the most in things that you've said in a podcast or the other, and people are holding on to whatever you say, just waiting for the moment, waiting for the
For that
time.
moment. Yes.
Here's how
they'll
I
be
look at
90 years old and they'll go, see, it finally came. I have it now. I'm just like,
Here's how I look at that. Clearly, the stuff that I say must matter to you if you're worried about the stuff that I say. That's all. So I take that as a badge of honor that my opinion must matter on some level, that you will literally clip it and hold on to it, just waiting for that moment to bring it back. Because I even go back to all the Bethesda stuff where I'm like, hey, you don't spend $7.5 billion to not change something. And clearly in that moment, they were talking exclusivity and play where Game Pass is and all that stuff. When you have the literal CEO of Microsoft Gaming publicly acknowledging the things that I said, that tells you I wasn't wrong in the moment. But then they spent $80 billion on Activision and that changed everything. That's all it is.
And to the point about, and I made that, I was on Rand and Jez show yesterday for a little while.
I was listening. Yeah, I know. I heard you. I heard you, Mr. Microsoft Hard.
Yes,
micro hard. Yeah.
Yes.
It should be macro hard. Micro hard.
This is going to be the next t-shirt. But the thing is, like, people get too caught up on whether something was a lie or whether they meant it at the time or it was true at the moment. And I to me, I just look a little bit past that. To me, it doesn't matter whether someone meant well. It doesn't matter whether it was a lie or it was true at the time. It doesn't matter what the intention was. My issue is when you keep making these statements, and I know that things on the ground may change, what you say becomes less valuable because I can't really take it to the bank. You're saying this because it's true today or because it's aspirational, but what good is that to me if your strategy is going to be so malleable? So I say, okay, he says that, we'll see. And that's always what it is. And you think if somebody comes to you, like you got a family member, right? And they keep coming to you, say, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go get that job or I'm going to go do that thing. And then it just doesn't happen for whatever reason. At a certain point, you just say, okay, cool. Right. And this is my point, right? Whether it is his fault or not, whether it is true or not, the more he speaks and the more things don't come into fruition. And you heard the show, so you heard what my examples were yesterday. In the course of 15 months, you've said 5 things that were completely about-faced on. And so I don't know if it matters if you were telling the truth at the time. It's just now I got to look at you like somebody who's just saying what they need to say in the moment.
Yeah.
Into that.
And if I could jump on that, because I did hear what you said yesterday, and I may or may not have said this privately to some people too. Phil should stop talking. I said this a couple years ago. He should stop talking because it goes into everything that you say. PlayStation and Nintendo does not get the grief that Xbox gets because their leadership is not public facing. They don't talk. They just, this is what it is, and then people accept it. But the fact that Phil will publicly talk.
Pushback.
Let me finish this one part. And then I want to hear your pushback. Sure. The fact that Phil goes out and talks about things that he wants to happen versus this is 100% locked in going to happen is what gets Xbox in trouble, in my opinion. So you should just stop talking.
Look, and the quick pushback I have to that is, that's kind of like saying we can't have nice things because we just can't have nice things. We're too immature to have nice things. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to live there. I want to.
I don't either. but think about it. Think about it. If Phil would not, on his own, not pressed, volunteered about wanting a handheld.
Oh yeah.
Wanting third-party digital stores on their platform. If he didn't volunteer that information,
no one would know any of this.
Exactly.
And none of this would be a factor in the equation. The fact that it was a factor at some point, and the fact that it's no longer a factor, no one would know it at all because he expressed interest. It became part of the zeitgeist, and now it's gone.
I'm interested. I'm interested in a line of thinking with Phil as an individual, his psyche as an executive, and also his personality as a gamer. I think at heart, he what makes him distinct is that he is and has always been a gamer. So things that are exciting to a gamer seemingly are exciting to him.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, he will speak, in my opinion, sometimes maybe, he'll just speak and say some things on the fly. And he seems like he's genuine about what he says, right? And so when he said the handheld thing, I didn't take it as any kind of confirmation or any unveiling of any secret plan or whatever. And that's, I think, another thing too is, to what Paris is saying is, whenever he says something like that, it creates expectations. And so when things change, and like Everborn said, it can create disappointments that gives opportunity for Xbox to basically take on, a lot of flack compared to other executives and other, platform holders as well. So
VG, to be fair to those who have that position though, Phil has kind of brought himself to this firing squad a little bit. He loves people picking stuff apart to the point where he puts like strategic things in his background so that people can spend weeks dissecting it. You know what I mean?
So
he
Dark
loves that
Dark Phil is a real thing then. Dark Knight Phil Spencer is a real thing then. Okay.
And it's part of that fun community. Like it's cool to see that cool controller. Oh, it was on his shelf the whole time. I think this is the unfortunate byproduct of that.
You are correct. But I think what really brings everything back together is that, again, like I said, if we continue to pursue, what is really authentic and what's genuine, and we look at the perspective of, things always do change. And, even when others make changes. Okay, for instance, let me put this example out here. This is, in my opinion, probably the best example of a huge change that PlayStation had made, or I guess I would say a signal to a change or something, was there was a PlayStation blog an audience member of mine pointed me to. They gave me a date and everything. It's the March 10th, 2020 PlayStation blog. In that particular blog, Herman Holst says something very important when he was about to launch Horizon Zero Dawn on PC. He said, just because one game is coming to PC doesn't mean, let me just put it this way. Let me just quote it directly. And to maybe put a few minds at ease, releasing one first-party AAA title to PC doesn't necessarily mean that every game will now come to PC. Now, not every PlayStation game has come to PC, but there sure have been a lot more compared to the sentiment at the time that maybe PlayStation gamers.
Kind of literally exactly what Phil said at that only 4 games thing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Phil Spencer is getting all of this, wrath for changing the game, even though his change was kind of faster than PlayStation.
Sure.
In reality, they morphed very fast. But I look at it and say, and I'm fair to Herman Holst saying, man, PlayStation needed to make the change. I have to be as, I forgot the word I'm trying to use. I have to maintain the same energy levels as the word I'm trying to use for it with Phil Spencer. So that's my perspective. And I think as we look at the gaming industry overall, we're looking at strategic changes from all three, actually. And if we're able to digest as much as we can, I'd say that, this is the reality of it. We've now grown from being the gamer on the front of the TV to being the adult, and now seeing the reality of the adult. And the inner child within us that enjoys gaming has a very tough pill to swallow. And I think that's where we are. We'll get there. We'll eventually be like, when we see it, we'll believe it. Or business, it might change, and have that sentiment going forward. But for now, I think this is where we have that, friction going on overall in the conversation.
So the thing is, like, and again, this is why I try to get away from the personal things about what Phil meant and what he was lying, whether he was lying or whether it was true at the time. Because again, and I'll just go through it for those that didn't hear me yesterday, right? Just 4 games. We know what happened later. Not Indiana Jones. We know what happened later. There's 2 ways to grow your business. You can either search for new users, or you can increase prices on your existing customers, and we don't want to do the latter. Then a month later, we know what happened in terms of prices and whatever, right? And then we should make a handheld at several different stages where he said this uninvited, and then now we're not really going to do a handheld, right? So once again, it doesn't really matter if he meant it. It just means that when Phil says something in the future, I just got to be like, okay, Phil's talking, right? And to me, when someone comes out and speak and they tell me what the direction they're going or what they're planning or what I can expect, I'm either going to listen to them and say, well, they said this, I can go by this, or I'm going to say, sure, that might be what you want to do, but it may go differently. So I'm not going to hold a lot of weight in that. I'm not going to bet money on that. And I think it's an issue when in such a short period of time, because like you are correct, the Herman Holtz thing is a completely about face, but that was 2020. I just gave 4 examples in the last 12 to 15 months.
You are correct. I mean, the timeline and the transformation is very sudden and jarring for Xbox. But you also, I mean, I would say from a business perspective, and this is also another thing. If you were running Xbox, Everborn, and you're running Xbox, and then all of a sudden your president wants to basically cause an economic, I don't know what, shuffle or reshuffle, right? That's going to influence.
It sounds like Discord talk, sir.
Okay.
Mhm.
And what would you do? Would you know what I mean? So in saying that, within the 15 months, what were the prevailing events that had actually taken place around that time? I'm just asking.
No, it's a great question, but there's 2 things that I would say to that. One, you are the wealthiest company in the world, and if you didn't see this happening, like, I don't know, right? Because the other your contemporaries knew that this was looming, and they had been shipping in units by the millions just to put them in warehouses so that they could have enough stock, so that there could be a lagging rate on the increase, right? Like, so these are things that your distribution pipeline should have handled, being a company the size you are. And let's say that's not, because as I understand it, the way they handle their inventory is JIT, which is just in time. They try to manage it very closely as to not have too many units in the channel, because that really costs you money, right? So I get that, but if that is the case, and you, unlike your contemporaries, are so susceptible to this because of the way you handle your inventory, maybe don't say anything like that, right? But again, in terms of the moves they are making, I do, and I really want to get to that, because we this, I don't want this to be about Phil. I think we should move on from Phil.
And we have a lot of super chats to catch
but
up
I
on.
do want to talk about the strategy, which I think is the right move, and I think there's good conversation to have.
And I haven't acknowledged it. So shout out to Carrie. The Fox is in the chat. Got a chance to say what's up to him real quickly at PAX East. It was an honor to meet him. Hopefully we'll have him back on the show soon. Shout out to the good Fox.
One of the handheld wizards, the Fox.
The handheld master. Yes, absolutely. the man I go to when I have my question. So shout out to the great Fox.
Can I say this to the Fox really quick?
And keep that comment highlighted.
I look forward to seeing you soon, sir.
Hey, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay.
Wait a minute, Paris. Is that one of those?
Yeah. It's one of those.
Say it to my face things, or is that like a?
Look, I'm not a bully, man. I'm a nice guy. No. I'm just saying, hey, I ain't gonna put his business on Front Street, but there's a good chance I'll see him soon. That's all I'm saying.
I already deciphered that as something deeper than, I don't even know. My brain is already calculating all kinds of possibilities.
Doc Dark says that sounded like a threat.
Right. You know what? Okay, but before you actually get into the super chat, let me say this really quick. You can't let these weirdos on social media make you think I'm this bad guy. It's like, stop talking crazy to me online and I won't say nothing back. That's all I'm saying.
Don't start nothing, won't be nothing.
Won't be nothing. That's right.
But no, what the Fox is, by the way, the Fox, you may not know this, but you were referred to in certain circles as handheld Jesus, right? Yes. Just like Steve from Gamer Nexus is referred to as Tech Jesus. The Fox is handheld Jesus. That's who you look to tell you when some new handheld things are coming out. Now, the Fox here, Carrie, sounds like you're talking about the Xbox tax by another word. But
he says, I'm not convinced that if Phil Spencer stopped speaking, anything would really change. Even in the PS360 gen, when 360 was king, gaming forums were always defending PS3. Well, all right.
Sounds like taxes to me. All right, you do the super chats, and then we will come back because I really want to talk about the strategy.
Let's get this through this.
To discuss there.
Yes, and I'll put a pin in this one real quick. Apunk Pie asks how it took 3 years for Microsoft to realize that the threat of SteamOS is mind-boggling. Sir,
we're going to talk about it.
We'll talk about that one. Oh boy, we're going to talk about that one. The great Doc Dark, the honorary fifth TMNT member. I swear I cannot unsee this, bro. I'm sorry. With a $5 super chat, he says, donating to PETA for how bad VG be abusing ponies. Wow. I know a bot when I see one. One of us. Fantastic. And then we have Machine XP with a $5 super chat. He says, salute to everyone from the East Coast. Also, why do you guys have a guest on who won't acknowledge their bias? I'm just messing. For those who know, you know.
Machine, he's being funny. I think he's referring to my video from yesterday. Oh my god.
Now, then we also have BKNY continues to be prolific with another $20 super chat. He says, here's some data. Just because Microsoft is saying something doesn't mean the data is correct. Hi-Fi Rush had 3 million players, and look what happened to that studio.
I mean,
I although I agree with the high level of it, there were some underpinnings that kind of left Hi-Fi out in the cold, whether it made 3 million or not. You know what I mean? Like, Hi-Fi was, in hindsight, Hi-Fi was not long for the world, which is unfortunate because I too loved that game, and I wish that game had a chance to be alive. Right? Even the new owners of it don't plan to continue it because it wasn't necessarily the most advantageous for them. So it is what it is. Let's see. Does that say Yurun Worthy with a $2 super chat? Thank you for being here. He says, VG in Paris, I love it. Great podcast, Gaming Circle. Well, thank you. We appreciate it. We always love having great guests with awesome opinions on, and we appreciate you for coming here and paying some support to it. We appreciate that. Soul Tech, the great Soul Tech, with a $2 super chat, giving us all some good advice, asking to please like and subscribe. If you haven't done so already, please do that. Right now, I think we have, over 200 and some odd people watching on Twitter. On YouTube alone, we have about 150. We have 14 likes. Please correct that if you would. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And then BKNY not stopping at all with a $2 super chat. He says, when/if Sony will do day one on PC with all games, which, I mean, for me, I think it's only a matter of time. At some point, we're going to see it. We're going to see it.
I think if you do see it, I don't think Sony makes like random moves like that. So if you did see it,
it'll be all no.
What I mean
turning
is,
of the page.
Yeah, so maybe they do it at the beginning of a generation, but Sony is very sort of conservative in changes that they make. So I think what you'll see is the delta between the PC releases shorten over time to the point where people don't notice anymore, and you're just going to wake up one day and realize, wait a minute, it's all day and date. But again, I think that's a process that will take years to play out.
Yeah,
but they'll get there.
The great Sith Lord, who's been a member for 13 months. Thank you so much for your support. He says, looking forward to Gamers Christmas next week. We're all looking forward to Gamers Christmas. I will be there. I'll be heading to LA in June, very soon, to meet and greet with the great Paris Lily, who also will be there. So looking forward to all that great stuff on the channel. Keep an eye out. We'll talk more about that one soon.
Kay, one thing I want to say on that last thing, one piece that a lot of people leave out of the equation with Sony day and date is the tools, right? Their tool set is primarily designed for their hardware, and they had to bring on, they acquired Nixus to help them with the ports. So I think that maybe when if the next hardware and the next SDK is closer to do PC day and date, you'll see it there. There is some technical debt there when we're talking about porting over to PC. It's not as simple as a business.
It's not a turnkey
a dogmatic
solution.
thing.
Yes, it's not a turnkey solution. You're not wrong there. Absolutely. Hollywood Rules with a $5 super chat. He says, "Good morning, my fellow graybeards. Enjoying a little coffee and listening to my guy Kay Asante and my Sega cousin Everborn. Had an excellent time in Discord. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being there. Another cheap plug. Join the Discord if you haven't. Great community. Great people talking on there. Always have fun talking to a lot of you great members in our chat in our Discord. So join us." Torino Johnson, $5 super chat. He says, "People think things won't change, but I'm old enough to see mag tapes, vinyls, 8-tracks, cassettes, floppy disks, CDs, etc. Gaming, PlayStation included." Shout out to my fellow graybeard Torino Johnson, speaking facts to the young bloods out there. You know what I'm saying? We gonna keep it lively. I appreciate you, sir. And then Hollywood Rules with another $5 super chat. He says, "Love this time of year. Completely agree with Paris and on Phil and company talking. Needs to pull back on the public speaking stuff. He can't win whatever he says," which I think that's part of the Xbox tax stuff speaking, right? Like no matter what he says, it always ends up being framed some bad somehow. JD Gamer, the great JD Gamer. We haven't seen you in a while, brother. I hope you're doing well. He's here with a $10 super chat. He says, "Good business people should know that you don't get to be $3 trillion business by giving away money, which is what many in this community continue to ask of Xbox because it's part of Microsoft."
Do I have to get the T-shirt?
Yeah.
Do I have to get the T-shirt? I might have to get the T-shirt. Okay.
That part always dogs people, right? Because Xbox is in that $3 trillion company. That means they have to be able to be altruistic somehow and not like make dollars and cents. It's a very unusual thing. It's a very unusual thing. Spoony Love, 200. Is that yen? I think it's yen. Shout out to you.
Spoony Love's from Japan.
Yeah. You know, he says, "Shout out to you guys. Happy to be catching the show live." Yeah, man. We used to see you live all the time. Appreciate you being here. Hope all is well. Another Torino Johnson, once again, he's been a member for 11 months. He says, "I meant to say PlayStation will be no exception." No, I think we agree with you wholeheartedly. And then 2 more super chats. Hollywood Rules, $2 super chat. He says, "Other 2 companies say you'll eat like this and like it," which is true, right? And that's what I was talking about when it came to like we never get nice things. We give credit to the other companies that just like dictate terms, and then the company that tries to be a bit more forthcoming with the data, they get lashed in the public square for it. You know what I mean? Like I've always thought that was very unusual. BKNY not giving up. He has a super $2 super chat, and he says, "Would like to see VG debate Porter Rock." Wow, what do you think of that, there, VG? Would you like to debate Porter Rock, sir?
I've had a lot of debate ideas, like people push debates and say, "Hey, do you want to debate?" And you should debate this person and so on and so forth. And I'm like, a debate sounds like fun. Yeah, one thing people don't realize, they think they don't understand that I love to debate. Like I don't even, I make videos and you can't really hear any of the pushback in real time. I love and I enjoy debate. But I really don't want us to lose the spirit of gaming at the end of the day. Sure, if anybody wants to do a debate and I have the time, I'll be happy to to debate them, no problem. Moderate the debate and all of the above. I'm happy to. I see one thing a lot of people don't realize is I'm way more interested and invested in learning than anything else. I think some people think winning a debate. Bro, if it's winning a debate, I teach middle schoolers. I beat them with logic daily. Like I'm not trying to win anything. I'm not interested in that. I'm looking forward to learning and understanding points of views and all of the above, and everybody putting out their knowledge out there. Because in terms of consoles, I am absolutely ignorant on many facets of the console space. The VG Fight School channel has been more of a learning experience than anything else. I've literally been learning from the comment section of about what's been going on in Xbox and PlayStation's world, because what was I doing, for all those years? I mean, I was in college, so there wasn't any time to play video games. And then after college, I'm trying to get my life together. I just got married right after college, so I didn't, I didn't want my wife to think, oh, my husband just only plays video games, as a new couple. So I had to actually suppress the gamer just to make sure things were in place doing. And I was like, oh, that's cool with you? She was like, yeah. I was like, I'm not gonna bother you. So I'm like, okay, and I guess I'm gonna be a YouTuber now. She was like, I'm cool with it. And so I missed out on a lot of the the history and the knowledge and if major events. And so people, I'm sure, like Puderok and whoever else has a wealth of knowledge that I'm happy to have laid out, because once I absorb the information, man, I feel like I'm a much more knowledgeable person and I grow from that. So I'm happy to put my put that out there as well too. So that's a lot of fun.
I mean, I've been on Porter Rock's show once. He's a very smart guy. He's a good guy, veteran. Might still be active. I'm not sure, but smart guy. And don't let the sort of Twitter timeline stuff fool you. If you go and talk to him, I think
very smart. I've had also.
It's not really about the debate, so to speak. When I was on his show, it wasn't a debate. We were just having a conversation, different perspectives or whatever. So I think it would be a good conversation.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, I love your take on that, VG. My saying has always been, a saying that I have borrowed has always been, the man that knows something knows he knows nothing at all. You're always learning. It's not about necessarily like winning a debate fight necessarily. It's either reaffirming your knowledge or gaining new knowledge. So I always appreciate that. Yeah.
Unless you come to the Discord, because then it's definitely.
Oh, then they're coming for your needs. It's a thing. We call it the verbal octagon. It's a whole thing.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
JD Gamer, I had to put the shirt on for you.
Just for you. Yes, that's right. That's right. The Charge the More shirt, which we'll tell you where to buy that one soon. Real quick, JD Gamer, member for 9 months. He says, I heard a rumor that there were Sonic-inspired Series X consoles coming out, and that Sega might be a new acquisition. Oh boy, don't stop.
So I don't know if those. First of all, they look amazing. The Shadow and Sonic one. I hope at the very least we get a wrap, but I think that was AI that made those. And once again, I don't expect any acquisitions from Microsoft in the near term until they fully integrate ABK, finish integrating Bethesda. They just had a union thing go on where there's a new big Bethesda, kind of groundbreaking deal for the union that they had set up over in Bethesda or whatever. So I think there's a lot that they have to do there. They got to extract all the value, turn that well-oiled machine into like the money printing machine you're talking about. And then, if something comes on the table, I know the regulatory environment has changed. I know they've gotten through the FTC stuff, but I don't know, in a time right now where the gaming industry is kind of contracting and people are having to rethink headcounts and things like that. I don't know if they want to take on another company full of employees at the moment. So I wouldn't expect anything like that for in the near term. Maybe you can rehab that conversation in a couple of years.
Sycamore 7, $2 super chat. He says, I love the new format, hot topics on front. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Thank you for the feedback. And then Victor Alistine, $2 super chat. He says, shout out to GCP, VG in Paris. Great show. Thank you for being here. Appreciate your continued support. And here's where we are. Now, let's get back to where we were getting to, because I want to be cognizant of time. And I want to lead into the next conversation we're having, which is like that Abunk Pie comment that he made, which was Microsoft realizing that SteamOS is a threat right when the SteamOS is at the door is mind-boggling to him. Let's tie that into the whole conversation of them depreciating their own handheld in favor of the consolidated device, the Windows device.
Right.
You go ahead, Everborn. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah. So and I talked to Jez about this yesterday. That part of this thing was his estimation. It is
Assertion.
not
Yeah.
that, because I asked about that. I was like, that is wild, right? The Steam Deck is the thing that kind of really put gaming handhelds, although there were many before, but the Steam Deck kind of kickstarted that.
He does that to stop me from going, well, actually. I always will actually him.
I got it. I'm ready for you. But the point is, it's the idea that just now they would be on the whim looking at some videos from Dave 2D or whoever else and say, hey, we should probably make this thing better is not, I don't think that's how it, like, I don't think that's how those things happen. That being said, I do feel like it should have been job number one, and it is the right thing, because whether you realize it or not, you don't love Xbox for hardware. You love Xbox for the history. You love it for their first party titles. You love it for the user interface. You love it for your library. You love it for your achievements, right? You love it for the friends that you made there. So that experience is just software. And that software can run on any hardware. And if things are trending towards PC, if the PlayStation and the Xbox are essentially scaled back PCs, right? If we see that Valve can give you this sort of streamlined console experience on what is a Linux PC, why then shouldn't Microsoft, the company that actually has an effective monopoly in PC gaming? I understand that Steam is the store, but the platform itself is Microsoft. It is Windows. Why not take advantage of that and allow people to engage with the hardware that they want while still having the user experience that they're comfortable? That should always have been the right move. My question is, why let it get this far to where you're making your own and then decide now to pull it back? So I agree with the thinking. I agree with the logic. It is, how do we get this far before you realize, hey, the full focus should be on this? And I want to say one more thing here. Just think about this as a business person, right? The strategy was, we're going to do for Gen 10, there's going to be an under the TV, more traditional box, and then there's going to be a handheld. But also, we're going to work with partners. Now, if you are a partner, if you're Asus, if you're Lenovo, if you are MSI, if you are Zotac, whoever, why should you invest your resources into creating a Windows based handheld when Microsoft is going to come and undercut you in 2 years, when Valve is offering a free OS right now, right? And so the way that you keep your partners happy, who you need, because you really want to transition the liability of hardware to them in the long term, right? And they don't really have experience making consoles or under the TV boxes, right? They make laptops, they make desktop PCs, right? So if you take that out of the way and you put your full focus on the updates that you're going to make to Windows, now you keep them happy because you're not undercutting them, and the hardware that you are releasing is not something that they typically do anyway, so you aren't stepping on their toes. And now in all the markets that sort of, just like logistically, Xbox is not huge around the world, right, in terms of physical footprint, like devices in stores. But you know what is huge around the world? Asus, Lenovo, MSI, right? So they can get into the retail spaces around the world for you, using as they do today with your PC operating system, with your game-focused operating system, which is just the PC operating system, hopefully, and this is just a mode. They can get into those markets for you. And now, and I'd also just say this other thing, right? A lot of people don't realize this, and they think, Microsoft's going to get out of the platform business and just be a third-party publisher. But before ABK, Xbox brought in 2023 $15 billion, in 2022 $16 billion, in 2021 $15 billion. this is more than Nintendo brings in revenue wise. Now, Nintendo has higher margins because their hardware is less expensive and they have their budgets under control a little bit better. But they make a lot of money on their platform, and the biggest draw on their margins is the hardware. So it makes sense for them to want to offload that. So it once again, it is the right move. They happen to own Windows. And so for them, more than anyone else, this makes sense. It is just that, why were you even making your own handheld to begin with?
Well, I guess the question is, why were you talking about it in the first place?
Can I jump in? Yes.
Yeah, I want you to jump in. To me, this is likening, and there's a bit of public speak versus what's happening in the background that may be a little different, that I think may be a factor in this equation here. To me, this, like the time I remember feeling this way about this story was when Naughty Dog went, we kind of didn't want to build a live service game after they'd been building a live service game for like 4 years. And you're just like, head scratcher. Maybe you should have thought about that before you spent 4 years into it. You know what I mean? What do you think this, all of this, like what this means? Because what they're saying, or what is purported to be said by Jez, I see why, I see the rationale, but it's just fraught with a lot of PR nightmares here. What are your thoughts?
So when I was given wind that Jez was going to report this, I wasn't surprised, and here's why. So a few weeks back, I was up at Microsoft, and I was asked, none of this is under NDA, so I can openly talk about this. I was asked to sit down with the corporate vice president for Windows and devices. And the topic was about gaming, how can we better curate gaming on Windows, aka bring the Xbox experience to Windows. What is it that I thought they needed to do? And, all that goes with that. So long story short, great conversation I had. Steam was a big topic during that because I was just bringing up that Steam OS, what Valve has been able to curate over the years and bring to the Steam Deck, and now that we're starting to see on third-party devices, is ideal. And in simple terms, I hit the power button, it brings me into that UI experience. At no point am I forced to leave that UI. I am on that UI. I can play all my games. Updates happen through that, everything. What currently happens on Windows, whether you're on a Rogue Ally or whatever, in a handheld thing, first, the UI experience is still cumbersome. They know that. They're working on it, trying to fix it. But it's about curating the Xbox experience so that is the first thing that you see when you turn on that power button. And you're in your games, your updates are happening through that. You are never forced to go to a Windows desktop. You never need to see the core Windows experience unless you choose to do so. So again, having that conversation and going through all that, I deduced at that point, it's about the software. It's not about the hardware. The fact that they're already partnering with an Asus, they're probably going to have other announcements with Lenovo, things like that. The hardware is irrelevant right now. If you don't get the UI experience correct, if you don't get that in comparison to where it is a true rival to what SteamOS is doing, I don't care how great the hardware is. I don't care what CPU on it, APU, all that. It doesn't matter, because people want ease of use. So them, quote unquote, pushing back their own internal handheld and focusing on, let's get the software right. Let's get the UI experience right. We already got partnerships lined up. That hardware is going to be available to people. We can obviously learn even more from that moving forward, because again, you got to remember, their handheld was going to be whatever their next gen is going to be. And at no point did they ever say it's coming at launch for whatever next gen is. Jez even said in that article, yeah, they're still making a console. That's going to happen. But this is me speculating, and this is not something I was told. That Windows OS, Xbox OS, whatever it's going to call, whatever this curated thing is going to be, you're going to be able, this is a conversation I had. I said, Xbox is Windows, Windows is Xbox, right? That was kind of the theme going into it. So that essentially every Windows OS has the potential of being an Xbox moving forward. If you want to tinker and install it on your own device, you can do that. Asus can give you one. Lenovo can give you one. Obviously, Microsoft with their Surface line can give you one as well. That's where I think this is headed. So them pausing on the hardware of the handheld, to me, isn't that big of a deal, because we're going to see iterations of that through their partners over the next couple of years anyways. So, and then this is me speculating. No one has told me this. Don't be shocked if we see that next week. As far as the platform, the experience, what the experience is going to look. One more thing.
The software. Okay.
Because even Jason Ronald at CES openly talked about this. That's where they're headed. That's his job. That's what he's working on right now, is to curate that experience. So I think we see it as early as next week. And Jez might have done them a favor by leaking this now, because the questions are going to come up next week. So they need to address it. That's what I think.
So I want to ask about that. And this is Paris. This is for you and VG. If the idea is that they need to kind of double down on the software experience, if that is not ready yet, hence the reason they need to double down on it, should they release the partner device now, because first impressions are everything? And if it is not ready for prime time, is it wise to put that device out, giving people an impression that could paint their perception of such a partnership going forward for all your stuff, right? There's a lot of people, and I said this yesterday, there's a lot of people that don't even realize all of the strides that have been made in the Xbox PC app, because it was their first experience with it was very bad.
Was
right?
garbage and has never looked back. Yep.
But people have long memories. And I really wonder if what we get this year maybe shouldn't be the Xbox branded device from Asus, but just an iterative allied device, and do the Xbox partnership when the software is ready.
Here's my thought on this. I'm actually in agreement with you that whatever this Asus handheld is that is Xbox branded, first impressions are everything, right? It cannot be what we currently have today. It needs to be an iteration on whatever whatever I would boot up on my Rogue Ally today cannot be what this Xbox One is. I don't care if it got the little button with the X on it. It needs to do more than that from a software and UI standpoint. Because again, whatever they're doing with this UI, it needs to scale from handheld to desktop. It has to television as well, obviously cloud, all of that. It needs to be a uniform experience no matter what device that you're on. Hence, this is an Xbox. So it could be a thing of, all right, we're going to show it. We're going to show where we're headed. Like, this is a preview. Yes, we've partnered with Asus. I'm convinced they're partnering with Lenovo and others too, but we're partnered with Asus. Here's, we're going to preview it on this device. I don't necessarily know if a preview is a good idea to something you're asking people to spend $700-800 on. But if it's not ready, then you need to be crystal clear that this is still a work in progress of where we're headed. Because if you're not, you're just setting yourself up for people saying, well, I don't want this. I'm just stick with SteamOS. Why am I buying this? I'll just use SteamOS because I can play my games the way I want. The only reason you would get a Windows device right now is Game Pass. Is if you're using Game Pass. Because if you're not using Game Pass, or you've bought your games through an Epic store or whatever, if you have games on Steam, SteamOS is the preferred experience right now. But if you're utilizing Game Pass and obviously the other Xbox services that you would get on PC, then I understand it. I get why. But for me personally, I currently would rather have SteamOS because the Xbox experience is not up to snuff.
The only pushback I'll give you on that is, and this was a conversation we had a couple days ago on our Discord as well, where people were saying it's over because now SteamOS is a viable option. It is, but it's still not ready for prime time just yet, right?
In what way?
Anti-cheat is a big problem.
Yes.
You cannot play anti-cheat on there
for multiplayer stuff. Yes.
Secondly, Valve is 300 people, right, who are working on a open source flavor of Linux. Their compatibility layer is like preschool compared to like Windows, right? What people hate about Windows is also what people love about Windows. You can put it on a hardware from the 90s and it's still perfect. Even with Valve saying we can now support it, they didn't even support the first gen Lenovo Legion. They only say the Go S. Their compatibility, their support is not where it needs to be if they're going to take on the giant and juggernaut that's been building compatibility since the 80s, right? They're there, but there's some serious problems that will stop them from being a real competitor. What excites me is they could have done this for years now. Valve has been sitting waiting for this to happen. They're a very small company, but the fact that they're doing what they're doing now tells me they are ready to finally tackle some of those problems. But with them saying it's now available to be installed, it's not ready for prime time. There's still a lot that they need to work on. You can't play Fortnite on this thing.
Here's my pushback to your pushback. You're correct. The anti-cheat is a problem. That is something they do need to resolve on the Linux platform. But if they weren't a legit threat and a serious competitor to what Microsoft is trying to do in the handheld space, why is Microsoft doing all of this?
Oh, no, you're not wrong. They are definitely, I don't disagree. They are definitely like encroaching.
The question is this, right? What and we have this conversation with ARM versus x86 all the time.
All the time.
It
yes,
is,
yes, absolutely.
There's a convergence point, right? Who will solve what first? Will Valve solve compatibility? Because remember, it doesn't work at all with NVIDIA GPUs, right? Like you can, but you just may randomly wake up to a black screen and have to reinstall the whole thing, right? And the reason for that is that AMD drivers are open source, whereas NVIDIA drivers are proprietary and not open for the open source community to get to work, right? So are you going to solve NVIDIA? Are you going to solve anti-cheat? Are you going to solve like Bazite right now has more device compatibility than SteamOS. And again, this is the nature of them starting small. They're a small company. More people worked on Avowed than work at Valve altogether, right? This is the scale we're talking about. And so here come Floodzilla as soon as we start talking about Linux. But my point
Penguins representing.
So will Valve solve compatibility before Windows solves
the UI issues
and UI, right? And who will get there first? Because the reality is, and I think this is why people are wondering, well, why did it take you 3 years to get here? I think what Microsoft knows, what they've always known, is that it's been the year of Linux since 1986. There's your slander, Flood. It doesn't matter. Windows keeps chugging along. And once again, if you look at the Steam survey, 97% of people that play Steam play it on Windows, not Linux. And that's because of compatibility. And because they know that whatever they do, most people will still be playing on Windows. I honestly think that's why they're dragging their feet. And I'm not in favor of that. I'm saying that's why this hasn't been more of a priority sooner, unfortunately.
VG, you've been quiet. What are your thoughts, sir?
Oh, me, I've just been enjoying the conversation. I'm just absorbing what is being said.
You're a Steam Deck user. What are your thoughts with Valve encroaching in the waters of Microsoft? You think they're there, or what are your thoughts on it?
I have to be honest. I think everybody's taking it slow. It's a heavy investment to go into hardware and software at the same time, and Valve, I think, did a good job. In fact, till now, Valve still has that, beta participation that you can, sign up for on your Steam Deck to, participate in different versions, different builds of new features, and so on and so forth. So even in real time, Valve is still, product testing while iterating as well, and we are, in the position to beta test for them and give them feedback and all of the above. And something that Paris said was, if they are going to be launching this handheld, without all of its iteration in full, they need to be very clear, like, hey guys, this is where we're going with this. However, I think they still need a basic functionality. For instance, if you power up a Steam Deck, there's already a stable build that can iterate everything you need as a handheld user. Like it's all there. You can
It's
access
there,
your
ready to
games.
go. Yes.
It's there, ready to go. So
Mm-hmm.
that I think is at least the bare minimum that they'll need in terms of their MVP to make available for their hardware when it's launching. With ASUS. Currently, I don't have, and that's why for this conversation, I'm a little like my brain continues to spin with that little buffering thing because I don't have any other handheld. So I don't have any knowledge of any experience with.
So you don't play. I know you're a big Division fan. Division is not on Steam, right?
It is on Steam, but you use a
it is.
Ubisoft launcher for it.
Okay,
Except if you modify your Steam Deck and do Bazai, or if you have another handheld that can access Ubisoft Connect without any problems, which that's probably the one game that would have me get another handheld. But again, my experience on PC and on a console are just already streamlined for me. So I'm just like, well, do I need to invest? I've already
more
invested
time
all
and
this
money and all
more
that.
time, yeah. So that's where the challenge is, and then that's why when you think about, okay, so first of all, I guess let me ask this: you have a Rogue Ally, right? And I know this is probably gonna take a little time. What was the experience? You used to, okay. What's the experience like? I don't know if Paris can tell me what the experience on a Rogue Ally is like when you turn it on.
For you.
Okay, great. Does it just boot up Windows, or is there like when you open up the Windows app? What does it do? I don't know.
So when I power on and right now, currently I'm dual booting it because I have SteamOS on it as well. But when I boot into Windows, I'm literally looking at my Windows desktop, and then I go to either the Xbox app, or you can go to the Asus. Oh my God, why am I blanking on the name? Right?
Same
what I'm talking about. Yeah. And then I go into that, and then that'll show me all the different digital stores that I currently have installed in there. And I can go there. Again, it works. I'm not saying like, oh, this is just this terrible experience. It works, but you're essentially in Windows. It's not curated for a handheld experience where everything just works via the joysticks and the buttons and all that. There's times where I have to do touch controls or the mouse to get to certain things.
It's not meant for console. It's not meant for people who come with that console mindset where everything is just working from your keyboard, your controller, right? You need that external keyboard mouse
Armory
crate, which this was not built for, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Let me just give you guys a quick demo, right? This is how I use mine, and it's funny that you brought this up because
I'll put you on the main stage.
Yeah.
Thank you, Everborn. This is what I've been needing for a long time. I was starting to try to watch something on the Fox's YouTube channel, but I got carried away, and so I've not seen this experience demonstrated by somebody who can just answer my questions directly. So you are doing me a great favor. Thank you.
I'm sorry, and I'll put Slow-Mo's comment here because it is so apt. He said that this is why CEG is a lie.
So VG, there's an ongoing joke here. CEG, which is the console experience gamer, as I call myself, someone who has transitioned to
we call him PC Christopher Columbus because it existed before he got there, and then he claimed it for the US, even though it existed beforehand. So go ahead, Chris. Go ahead, Chris.
But once again, I prefer my console experience, even though I am in greener pastures. So I personally, when my Ally starts up, it goes directly into the big picture mode, right? So if I turn it off, if I turn it on, we're right back here. This is how I engage with it. And I mapped the back button to be the Xbox button, and so it brings up,
that's SteamOS.
Right? Yeah. This is actually big picture mode. So I could bring up the game bar, and I could do some orchestration like this.
That game bar, by the way,
this way.
Just so you understand, that game bar, that is Microsoft. Right.
Okay,
what you're seeing, what he's dealing with right now, that is Microsoft.
Okay, so you have those game bar installed, right?
Yes, those games are installed on the hard drive. Yeah.
Okay, we'll fire
Hades,
up.
Just fire up Hades, something fast, and we'll boot up real quick.
Yeah.
Now go to the Xbox experience.
Oh wait, no, that's the Steam version. I'm
Oh,
talking
you
about.
okay? You want me to?
I want an
That was a
Xbox.
Steam game. Let me go to Xbox.
Yeah, thank you very much, Barry, for pointing that out. That's what I want to see. I want to see how the Xbox games interact on a third-party hardware, and then
No. I want to see him. Wait, I'm looking delayed. He's doing it. Sorry. Let me stop interrupting. I'm looking at the wrong screen.
All right, let me go into Xbox here.
And you know what, Everbone, while you're bringing this, I gotta say this is really useful, and I'm thinking of doing like a short video series about this. A lot of people don't know what the Ally looks like. A lot of people don't know what the MSI Claw looks like. A lot of people don't know what the Legion Go looks like. And believe it or not, they're all different, right? They do different things, and some of them are better than other things. And I feel like it might be useful for people to see that. And it'll help in their purchasing decisions, because a lot of it is software. A lot of it is very good software, and that is a factor in the equation.
you might have to launch Velatro from cloud, or do you have it installed?
There you go.
I think I should have it installed.
Okay, I want to see this. This is what. Oh man. Okay.
Yeah. You start it up. It has a splash screen. Boom, you're in it. That's it.
And control schemes. When I installed Windows on my Steam Deck, what I noticed was I couldn't control some games like Power Wash Simulator. I couldn't use the traditional Steam controllers on that Windows interface to just natively control the game. Is that a problem?
When did you do
here?
that install back?
Yeah, there was
that
some
a while
driver
ago?
issues at the beginning.
It was last year. It wasn't too long ago.
Okay.
Right. And
Okay.
and just so we'll come back to the game bar, and I'm running Balatro, so I can use the game bar to kind of close it, and then we'll end up back here.
Wow.
Well, as I say, they've made a lot.
When it works, it's
strides.
great. It's
Okay,
great.
guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me give my perspective now that I have this experience in front of me.
But before you give that, I have to be the pessimist here.
Okay, go
You're
for it.
looking at a man that has completely tweaked this
He's
out.
done a lot of tweaking and twerking. He's done a lot of tweaking and twerking.
What you need to see is the out of box experience, because that is what most people are going to do, and that's kind of my point.
Harris is correct.
I
And
see.
what he's talking about is the CEG energy of what I turned this thing into.
Here we go again.
And so we will come back and we'll go to our we'll go back to the main experience.
Okay, so what you guys are saying, and this I needed a clear picture. I'm a visual learner, so this really, I can't believe it. You guys were set up to hook me up today, so thank you. So this experience now that he's been able to modify, are you guys saying that Microsoft only need, or at least at the bare minimum, need to iterate the experience for the user immediately they get the device?
Yes, that's all I want.
Okay.
Basically, their priority has always been the keyboard mouse, and because it's always been the keyboard mouse, it's made this new paradigm feel like an afterthought. And they need to reframe the use case for this kind of device, and in so doing, it'll solve all their problems. Right now, Everborn is doing little things that he's doing. There are lots of users in this space, like devs and stuff. Shout out to Winhanced and the like. We talked about it last week. We're gonna have them on the show. There are lots of great developers who are like, you know what, we're not waiting for Windows, and they're doing their own thing. So there's a lot of energy in this space, and we're all just waiting to see which one will be the one that takes over. But right now, as Everborn has it on his Ally X, the big picture mode in Steam OS seems to, in the Steam Deck, or the big picture mode that was made for the Steam Deck, app, right? Basically is the lead platform right now.
Yeah, I have
really.
I have a Steam set to run at launch, and it starts in big picture mode. So this is usually the experience I get, and most of my library is on Steam. And so and occasionally I'll try a Game Pass game, but if you've been on this journey with me, you'll know I've had so many issues with the Xbox version of games that I've just folded many times and just bought them in Steam because it's easier in this experience to use. Even though I had access to them in Game Pass. And that is, there's certain we can get into the whole certification issue, and there's issues where Steam will get updates of games faster than the Xbox or Game Pass version because the certification process is a little bit more arduous for the Xbox store than it is for Steam. And Yeah, and I'm a little fortunate in life, so time is money. I'd rather not wait for that. So usually when I want a game, even though my Game
he's
Pass
a Game Pass sub to 2027, and he's buying every
2028.
game independently. Oh, 2028, my bad. And he's buying every game independently.
So I think Xbox has a bigger challenge here than just doing a modification for the UI. Like you said, the PC certification process. The Division, for instance, the first time I learned about certification, we used to put out a public test server with different changes to the game before taking them live, and they would allow for you to be able to access it, but via the Ubisoft launcher, you could just access it directly because you were on PC. They didn't have to certify anything through anybody. They only did the public test server once on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One uh, generation of the game, because they were able to get both versions for the PlayStation and the Xbox certified through Microsoft and PlayStation. In fact, one time I think there was a delay on the PlayStation side with the certification for the public test, because it's an entirely new game in quote, but it's not the game itself. And so Steam and its own process seems like it's a lot more streamlined. And I think this is where Xbox has an opportunity to allow for their PC side to be a little bit more flexible in a sense, to allow for developers a lot of freedom. There's a reason developers flock to Steam. I mean, for instance, I was doing a little game project and I already have a Steam developer account. If I had a game build, I could launch it at any time with a little bit of a small process. But Xbox has a much more arduous, slightly arduous process to get into. And I'm almost certain that there are more, and it's for quality control. I'm not saying that they need to just let everything just be free for all, but at least, this is where I see the opportunity for them. So there's even more of a surmount of a huge task for them to even deal with. If this is the experience you're talking about that you have to modify and you're finding yourself going more to Steam. So Steam already has a process that's good and ready for this, for this side of the gaming community. And I think them taking time to go ahead and try to make this a reality, as all of you have concluded, is the right move, just based on what we've seen directly here. I think this speaks for itself.
Yeah, and VG, I want to add another thing, right? And this is the thing that I keep coming back to, right? All the direction in terms of platform that Xbox is going, whether you want to talk about hardware agnostic, whether you want to talk about unified user experience, whether you want to talk about handheld, it is all happening right now from Valve. And we're waiting for Microsoft to get there, right? Because Microsoft has to figure out what to do with your legacy library. That's not a problem for you when you get a Steam Deck. If the Steam Deck can run your game that you purchased, that's it. Now, I have 500 games that I've bought on Xbox console over the past 25 years. And if they move to PC, have they sorted out emulation? Because if it's not Play Anywhere, then Bob's your uncle, right? So that's one thing. Valve has that sorted. In terms of getting the UI right, everybody will agree. Valve has that sorted. In terms of having a first-party handheld, right? That is a complement to your big gaming PC, or for Xbox's case, you're under the TV box. Valve has you sorted. Whether it is your game saves, right? It's there and it's happening now. So
Game saves has gotten better with Valve. It was a crapshoot before,
right? But I only say that to say, like, Elden Ring, right? I'm not playing I didn't play Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree because I bought it on console, and now I'm playing on PC. One, it's not Play Anywhere, but I would have bought it again, but my save doesn't carry it over, and I'm not trying to fight that Tree Knight over again. Right? So I'm just saying, like, it's things like that if I had bought it from Steam to begin with, I don't have to worry about whether I have the console binary or the PC binary. Right? And so these things are solved. And so Microsoft can't really just be as good. They have to be better.
So can I add in just a little factor in the equation here? And to be clear, this is a problem of Microsoft's making, right? It may sound like I'm obfuscating, but it's a problem of their own making. And I will let me put it this way. It seems, and I always say this, right? people are comparing, say, Game Pass cloud streaming to like GeForce Now, and it's lacking, right? You're comparing the capabilities of how Steam works and comparing it to Xbox, and it's lacking. If you dig into the details, you'll find that Microsoft and their processes and how they're working, they are trying to traverse an unusual divide, trying to turn an apple into an orange.
Yep.
Right? But to the consumer, you're now offering me like for like. So now I gotta like adjudicate it that way. And I'll go, hey, why is it the cloud streaming isn't as good? Because it's literally a Series S in the cloud versus a monster blade PC. That's why the Game Pass cloud streaming versus GeForce streaming is not an apples to apples comparison. But to be fair to the consumer, Microsoft is offering it to them just like GeForce is offering it to them as an end user. So their comparison is fair, even though for me, I'll go, well, and I feel like a lot of that is happening here as well in their app, right? Because to the point that the folks are making also in the chat here, and I'll jump ahead to Spoonie Love's chat, 500 yen. Thank you, Spoonie Love. He says, pardon my ignorance, but doesn't a less arduous certification process lend itself to cheating problems that PC has? More than that, right? We're now comparing, but we're comparing closed ecosystem, which is console, which traditionally has been closed ecosystem and has its different requirements, to open ecosystem, and saying that the closed ecosystem is not good enough. Closed and open have been apples to oranges for a long time, but because Microsoft is offering you the end user consumer, now they're going, well, Steam is not as good as this. Yeah, because whenever Cyberpunk croaks on Steam, they tell you to go to CDPR, right? Whereas when Cyberpunk croaks on PlayStation, you're going to PlayStation. When Cyberpunk croaks on Xbox, you're going to Xbox. It's a different comparison. But again, because Microsoft has tried to bridge the divide so much, and all the logistics are kind of being put in the background, you consumer don't know that, and you shouldn't know that, and it's making your complaints valid, right? I think they should educate their consumer base a bit more on what they're actually trying to do and what the problems are that gets them there. Because I feel like if people understood it better, they would understand that the Steam to Xbox app comparison isn't exactly fair and apples to apples. Right.
Yeah, but once again, I always have to stress this. I agree in the direction they're going in the vision. What we're talking about is the challenges that they have on the way to get there. And at the end of the day, they are following the sort of Valve model in what they're trying to turn their platform to.
True.
So if that's their guiding light, we have to say how close
and that's why it's fair. That's right. That's why it's fair. Absolutely. Yes. That's why it's fair. But the reason why I say it's a little unfair is they're literally traversing ecosystems to make the thing work, whereas Valve doesn't have to deal with any of that. They just have the Windows ecosystem, and it just runs. It took them many years, but now Proton is available, so now they can actually even offer it to you on the Linux ecosystem, and similarly, it'll work as well.
And that's another thing. It didn't Valve didn't wake up overnight with Steam OS, right? This starts back at when they were doing the Steam machines, and they kept at it. You have the controller, the Steam input, because when they released their controllers right over there, yes. And so the same way Valve didn't do it overnight, it's not going to happen overnight for Windows. The only gripe that I think a lot of people have is, well, why the hell didn't you start soon?
Why did it take so long?
The Fox has a good comment here about GameScope. I don't know if you want to highlight that.
Let's see.
It's right above Slow-Mo's few chats. Yeah.
The biggest benefit for SteamOS is GameScope, and Microsoft needs to find a way for Microsoft, for Windows DWM to mimic those abilities. Yes, for those who don't understand what that is, GameScope, monitors, TDP settings, lots of different very useful use cases to make your device work right from a press of a button, a quick access. This is actually and Carrie, I need to chat with you in the DM, sir. We'll chat. I am now the proud owner of an MSI Claw, and I actually think the Claw and their integration and how they did it with Microsoft is probably the closest we've gotten to how everyone should do it, where it's on the game bar, right? They have a quick launch access, and I have not set it up correctly, but quick launch access on the game bar that gives you TDP access, that gives you quick control to everything that GameScope or similarly to what GameScope offers.
So as I understand it, and maybe the Fox can weigh in on this. When you have like Armory Crate and the things that other people are using to update TDP and frame rate and all those things, those are actually low-level Windows APIs that they're accessing to do that. It's just surfaced through their software layer. So if your partners are using APIs that you provided, why isn't this just built into?
Why is not centralized? And they've already started doing that. They've started doing that with RGB. Like some Windows, you go into settings. If you are on their whitelist, you can now control RGB settings from inside Windows. You don't have to have the software for it. This is where it should go for all things, right? A lot of the GitHub indie dev space are literally leveraging those pipelines that exist for all the AMD devices, which is most of them, right?
Yeah.
This just needs to be leveraged by Microsoft so that it becomes part and parcel of the operating system.
Yeah, and I think we can move on now unless someone else has something else to say. I'll just close this with on the Microsoft side, there are 3 challenges that they have. 1, the UI. 2, figuring out a way to honor people's libraries, right? If they're going to move forward to PC, and then creating a de-bloated version of Windows that doesn't have the things running. And the Fox did put out a video the other day saying it's Windows bloat is not sort of as bad as you think. It is that the hardware manufacturers aren't taking advantage of the sort of profiling that they could do, right? So they might be running the CPU or they might be running at a certain TDP for a game that doesn't necessarily need that, and that is going to make the battery run out, faster than it would on a Steam Deck who will run at a lower TDP if they need to, right? So there's things that they need to do on the performance side, on the de-bloating side, on the emulation side, and on the UI side. And on Valve side, they've got to solve anti-cheat and they've got to solve NVIDIA compatibility, which that's entirely up to Jensen, right? Are you going to open up your driver?
Do they? Oh, explain.
Or do they?
Or do they? Yeah.
I mean, sure.
Let's set it up real quick. NVIDIA's driver set currently does. It's woefully behind and basically
don't get me started on the NVIDIA drivers.
On specifically on the Linux side, it's just god awful. Don't even run it, right? And obviously we were discussing the anti-cheat stuff. This presumably would be how and why, say, MSI would choose Steam OS instead of Windows for their next machine. Paris, you think they don't have to solve those problems?
Now, I want to be clear. I am speaking strictly from a handheld standpoint. Who owns the handheld market from a SOC standpoint? Thank you.
AMD does.
AMD.
Yes.
If you don't count Nintendo.
But they win it. They win it. That's also true, Everborn. They win it just by the very nature that nobody else wants to compete there. Exactly to Everborn's point. NVIDIA doesn't care because Nintendo wins it always anyway, and that's
but this is the point. But this is the point that I'm bringing up. If NVIDIA doesn't care enough to get their drivers to work on these handhelds or on Linux, as an example, then why is that on Valve? That's not on Valve at that point. That's at the OS level. That's on NVIDIA. NVIDIA clearly put in the effort for it to work on the Switch too, but they seem to have no interest on the handheld side.
Although it's on NVIDIA, and we know that, won't that have an outsized effect on the adoption of Valve's OS, right? If it was supported, now it's a viable option.
But this is where I'm pushing back to what you're saying again.
Okay.
The anti-cheat thing is real. Yes, I do think Valve needs to figure that out on the Linux OS level. I'm not arguing that at all. But beyond that, where's the incentive for that? Everything's AMD on handheld is my point. There's not like Lenovo created a Windows handheld that runs a Linux APU or excuse me, an NVIDIA APU. they're not on the market. Now, if we start seeing partnered hardware that is running NVIDIA versus AMD, and that becomes a popular thing,
I see the point
then
I see the point you're making, but I guess the reason why I can't, like, the reason why I'm a little why I'm thinking it through that way is because this operating system is not an operating system dedicated to handheld. Yes, it's mainly used for handhelds, but it's not dedicated for, it's not a handheld operating system. It's just a handheld it's just an operating system that happens to be used by handhelds now because that's where it's most advantageous, right? It's not dedicated for that. So in order for this to become an operating system that becomes the viable option that Microsoft is, it needs to stand toe to toe with that operating system, in that the two biggest graphic companies must support it equally. If you don't, you'll always be a second-class citizen.
Yeah, I'd also add, right, like, even when we're saying handheld, we need to be very specific and say PC handheld.
Well, yeah,
if we just say handhelds, NVIDIA sells more handheld GPUs than
anybody else. Yes,
right, because we know how many units the Switch moved and how much the new one will move, right? So we can't just say handhelds unless we're talking about PCs. Now, the other thing is I'm looking at a much broader picture. I'm looking at an OS that proliferates for gaming devices writ large. So whether you have a gaming laptop, a gaming desktop, or a gaming handheld, right? AMD handheld gaming devices are one small piece of that. And in that case, I would say yes, if that is all their aspirations are, to be handheld devices. But I think the aspirations are bigger than that. And at the fact is, NVIDIA sort of dominates the PC gaming GPU market, right? If we're talking about desktops, right? And I think it is a thing that they're going to have to solve if this can just be a ubiquitous OS that one day takes on Windows for PC gaming writ large, not just handhelds, right?
I don't think that's Valve's ambition, though. I think you're scaling it out to something that Valve isn't attempting to do
today. Sure.
So you think they're okay with just keeping a small piece of the pie?
I think Paris is correct. Valve's ambition, like, they take one thing at a time, right?
Yes.
They're not talking this, even when they roll out Steam OS, they're talking about one device right now. They're working with one partner at a time and saying you could try.
Even that one partner, they're not supporting all their devices. They're supporting one of them.
Right. They're saying you put it on something else, you on your own. So I get it, right? And that's the nature of them being a small company. So you are correct. That's not the ambition today, but the larger ambition of one day, I think that there might be aspirations to move past the reliance on Windows for their platform writ large. Just not today. So yeah.
Understood. This is like super interesting conversation, and I feel like we're going to be going around in circles on this one for a while.
But we had some other topics, and I want to get through those as quick as we can.
And we have some interesting super chats that I also want to acknowledge. But before
and Paris and VG, tell us whenever you got to go.
Yes.
Well, I was going to say I just wanted to comment on the handheld stuff. So if you're going to move on from that, I'll go ahead and drop out. Paris,
always a pleasure, sir. You have the invite. You're always welcome to use it, man. We appreciate.
I know I used it
in June.
I will.
While you do that, the 3D printer just got delivered.
He got a 3D printer. Okay. Some pig activity happening. Go do your thing.
quick question before I go out. Okay, so you won't be at the YouTube theater Friday.
I will not be at the YouTube theater because my flight will land literally when the Summer Game Fest commences. I had tickets. I was going to do the whole thing, but it will be too much of a rush to get to the theater before the show starts. So I will not be able to make it, unfortunately.
So then I'm sure at some point Friday night I will go through the JW. So I may see you Friday night.
What I will say to you is there will be a lot to talk about, both you and I, in this situation here. Because I have some roles to play. I hear you have some roles to play. We'll talk about this one later, but this is a thing. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, what we're discussing, obviously, we have on the screen now the Community Fan Fest. Hopefully, If you're seeing this, you've had a chance. You got a chance to, and you hit the button, and you got your raffle ticket in, because there's some things going down. I can't say anything, but oh boy, if they're able to pull this off, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you'll be there. I'll be there. Bells on. It's gonna be exciting. Paris, can you talk about what's involved here?
Yeah, I mean, I can just talk about my role.
Sure.
We'll be hosting a podcast panel before the Xbox showcase. I believe it'll start at 9 a.m. On Sunday. Myself, Danny Pena, Rihanna, Brittany, we're all going to be on. Oh, and Khalif is going to be there as well, and we'll be hosting this podcast panel to kind of just get the crowd hyped up about the showcase. What we're expecting, obviously what the crowd's going to be expecting, all that. It's just going to be a great time to be interacting with the community and hanging out. So yeah, I'll be there super early because I'm always early to everything. And yeah, like I said, the panel started at 9, leading right into the showcase at 10. And I think there's a surprise coming. I think so. People in attendance, should be excited about that. And Ben and Hargeet, everything that they've done, putting this together. I know it's more than that, but those are just 2 names off the top of my head.
Putting their foot down, man. They're putting their foot down. Oh yeah, man.
But it is extremely impressive to see what the community can do when they're motivated to put an event together. And this is, look, people call me Xbot and all that stuff. That's why I've proudly been a part of the Xbox community, for a very long time, because just some of my greatest moments and funnest times I've ever had has been within the Xbox community and just gaming community in general. But seeing people get together, because what is it, like 250 people, I think? Something crazy like that. Yeah. So it's going to be a ton of people there. I've seen the venue. I've seen the whole setup of everything that's going to happen. Look, if Xbox themselves was doing this, you would be impressed. Let's put it that way. And this is coming straight from the community.
Yeah. So we see you in the chat there. Shout out to the great Hargeet Chani. Shout out to all the people that are involved in this process. Shout out to Ben and all the guys that are working so hard to put this to get this going off.
Let me say this. I messaged Hargeet yesterday because I got an email showing me the rundown, right? I on Discord, I messaged Hargeet. All I said was, holy shit. Because that's how impressive this is of what they're doing.
Very impressive. I keep saying it. I'm not allowed to. If half of what they're trying to pull off happens, oh boy, what a world. Like,
really is.
Okay. Anyway, thank you for being here, Paris. I know you got to go. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in June, brother. It'll be awesome to catch up.
Yeah, with you. I will see you next weekend. At worst case, obviously Sunday, but I'm sure we'll run into each other before then. And I see 108 Dragon in there. I know you're gonna be out there. I'll see you. Just everybody's coming out to LA next weekend. Excited to see you. It's gonna be fun.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for lending your time, man. I appreciate you always being here. And we'll see you.
And one last thing, VG, it was great talking to you. Like I said, I'm a fan of the content that you're doing. Keep doing your thing. I did not know you were Nigerian, so that's another word. That's awesome. And I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
All right, good to
with you. And Sonic sucks. All right, I'm out.
Oh, he had to do it. See, he did that, and Everborn's not even here yet. Well, VG, like they have this thing. Yeah, it's fine. We'll keep it moving. Anyway, before Everborn gets back, and shout out to the great Paris Lily. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for always being here and lending your voice, and always appreciate you spending some time with us on a Saturday morning. Let me catch up on a couple super chats, and then we'll catch up on a last couple of stories, and we'll get out of here. Try to keep the timing a bit more concise. Let's get a couple of these things done. JD Gamer, $5 super chat. He says they are just now fixing the Windows for gaming because even though Phil is the CEO of gaming, he isn't over Windows, and that's the problem. Internal company.
And I heard that, Paris. This box is 90 pounds. I just had to bring it up 2 flights of stairs.
Whoa, is it a bamboo or what is it?
Yes, bamboo HD2.
Oh, wonderful. Not bad, baby.
He's getting the big dog. That's right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
got a bamboo for my classroom. We do some tech
Ah.
stuff, so we got one this semester.
You got the
so
A1 or did you get the
I think I got
PS1?
the X1 carbon or so.
Yeah. Oh, that's the big boy.
Well, that's like that's like school funding type thing. So I went
Yeah.
crazy with that. I was like, man, if y'all are gonna pay for it, here's the one
As
that I
you
want.
should.
So
Damn right.
we might have to compare notes in the Bamboo Lab settings. We'll talk in the DM about
for sure.
Let's see. DB Jones, $10 super chat. He says, "Do you think this best direction for Xbox to take is design scalable APUs for partner devices? I think taking that direction opens up a few more doors instead of just a traditional console." You know, DB, we've been having similar conversations in the DMs for a minute now. If instead of them R&Ding a console, they then R&D and partner with, say, AMD to make a partner APU that then Lenovo and Asus and all these other device makers use, that would be far more advantageous than the traditional model. I think we may be seeing some of that. So yeah, good point on
it. It is, and we were talking about that in the Discord yesterday, which is perhaps the shifted focus is to say, hey, we're going to design an APU that only we were going to use. Why not take that design work with AMD and give them a promise to say, listen, all of my partners are going to order this chip from you that we designed together. Give them a good price so these things don't have to cost $1,000, right? And again, we know, and that's not like outside of the realm of possibility, because when Microsoft told everybody they had to get the I don't know what it's called, the TPU chips for the TPM. TPM chips, right? What did all the partners do? They got off their behind and they put it in there. And when Microsoft said, hey, we're going to go ARM, and we worked with Qualcomm to make this chip, what did all the partners do? They got off their behind and did that. And now they said, because they want to shield Copilot.
You're yada-ing a lot of the consternation that happens.
You don't worry about all that. Don't worry about all that. Point is, they got it done.
Now, if it's Apple, it's like, yes, there
is no yes, sir, because it's Apple and they make the hardware. But I'm saying,
if it's Microsoft, it's like,
I hate you. When Microsoft is trying to push Copilot, and now you can't buy a laptop without an NPU
without a Copilot
that has 45 tops. So they can absolutely do this, and they've been doing it.
You're not wrong. It's just funny, the juxtaposition, that this is a PC and this is a Mac, it brings that all back to me again. I'm sorry. Never mind. JD with another $5 per chat. He says, if Phil was in charge of Windows, the gaming experience would have been fixed already. So would the store, but you have multiple teams doing different stuff. I agree with you. Didn't we hear that had changed a little bit in recent years when the gaming budget started ballooning and getting a bit more advantageous as far as budgets was concerned and profits? Like they started being a bit more more agreeable to what the gaming focus was, right?
Well, so there's a few things, right? Gaming right now at Microsoft is on par with, you name the year, it'll go back and forth for who's bringing in more revenue.
Yeah.
Gaming or Windows.
Yeah. And that gives you more resource internal to get them to do things as far as to adding to
also remember, Phil is on the board of directors now, right? That was not the case before. And so as I understand it, the Xbox team is has more agency to work on the gaming experience of Windows. And so hopefully that yields benefits to us. The question is just going to be, how fast are they going to move? And remember, and Sick, our brother Sick from everywhere, Valve is not going to be standing still while they're doing this.
True.
Right?
True. So, but remember, Valve is 300 people running versus Microsoft. So even though, let's be clear, they've also done a lot with their 300 compared to others.
And listen, I'll just say this. Before we give them too much leniency, as a company, when Microsoft wants to do something, they get their behind in gear. And listen to this. Remember when there was a threat of slack, and a lot of companies were going to take that on, and how much effort they put in the teams. And now you have a Teams update every 2 days that's messing up your machine. But every feature that every other competitor has, they have it within like 2 weeks. When they really care,
they do it. Yes, when they really care, it shows up. Absolutely.
So they have the capacity to put the effort into something like this if it was a main priority.
True.
And if you use Teams, you know what I'm talking about. It's terrible.
Yeah,
but
we do.
We are all subject to it.
Spoony Love, 500 yen. Appreciate you. He says this wouldn't be an issue if they hadn't pressed Control Alt Delete on Windows 8. Hashtag just saying. I need a bit more context, sir.
No. What he's saying, they got rid of Windows 8, which had the sort of tile UI with the start screen, and that could have been a more.
Oh, sir, that's another one of those things, right? They got rid of Cortana before they discovered the brain that is the AI voice, right? They got rid of the tablet UI right before the tablets became a thing that everybody wants. You know what I mean? Like, let's not go there. Anyway, I can keep going. The UI for media center computing, when now media center computing is far more useful than it ever has been.
They can bring it back.
I hope so. They should.
They could just go back and bring it back. There's no need for them to act like they've never done it before.
Absolutely. Floodzilla with a $2 super chat, and he's here to make sure that we all know that he will not entertain any Linux slander.
It is too late. Consider yourself entertained.
Consider yourself entertained. JD Gamer, $5 super chat. He says this whole thing has been framed as Microsoft's reaction to SteamOS.
I don't believe that that's the case.
Doesn't move as fast as they already planned from the day before the Dave 2.0 video. Yeah. They move at their own pace. They always have. We just see what the other companies are doing, and then we judge them based on what the other companies are doing, right? But they move at their own pace. They always have. They always will. Some of us kind of wish they'd move faster, but it is what it is. JD, continue to be prolific. $10 super chat. He says, K Asante, can the partner devices get enough optimizations on Windows without having kernel access to make them more performant than SteamOS? Or will we still need the Xbox handheld to get to that level? Sir, I hope they can. I hope Microsoft is working with them, because it's interesting you mentioned that to me right now. I'm really enjoying this device. One of my favorite new devices. The number one problem is they don't have kernel access. So when they're when you're running a game and you need to, exit out of something or pull up a TDP control or whatever, it is almost 3 minutes before that thing pops up, and the controls just don't work because they don't have kernel access. They don't have priority access. There's a lot of growing pains in these waters. So yes, I honestly think that probably could be why they moved away from creating their own device and said, let's refocus our efforts on the software, because everyone is having issues. It doesn't matter what company you're talking about as far as handheld vendors. They're all having some issue here or there. So them reframing and potentially focusing on that is probably more advantageous for them. Thank you for your message. Appreciate it. Let's see. Chris H. SNR? I hope I'm saying that right. With a £5 super chat. Thank you so much. He says the partner Xbox handheld should have been upgradable to the latest Xbox handheld UI OS interface when it released. I think it will. I think it will. I think that they're using this partner handheld as a reference design to show you what that new Xbox handheld is. That it looks like they're using the Asus device as the way to show you, what they're doing. Like that's what it looks like. Before we continue, though, let's real quick, because VG, it seems like our time has run out with you. We appreciate all the time we've had with you, sir. This has been an awesome episode. Thank you so much for being here.
I really appreciate the invite, man.
Let folks know where they can keep up with your ongoings. If there's any things going on in your channel that people want to keep an eye on for you.
I'd say I'm very happy that the community engages and gives a lot of suggestions. So yeah, just keep giving suggestions, and whichever one I can run with, I'll be happy to do so. I think the VG5 School channel for me is more about the community and how much they've invested in me. They may not know it, but they've invested in me a lot with with a lot of the knowledge that's been dropped my way, a lot of the tips. Everborn, shout out to you. You've been very pivotal in even you talk about how many videos I do, but you don't stop giving me information. So you're you're partly to blame.
Hey, sometimes I want to comment on stuff on the timeline, but I'm falling back. So I'll say, let me send this to VG. Let's see if he makes a video about it.
Yep. And there's a high chance that I'm going to make a video about it, except maybe I'm, swarmed or busy. So I really appreciate all those efforts. And so keep them coming. It was really exciting to be here today. I did not expect the Paris Lily drop in, but thank you very much for that. I really it was very curious to just hear his thoughts and hear his opinions on things, and also just learning a little bit more about the handheld space. That's an area where I'm lacking because I don't have a lot of experience, and so I think now I'm more interested, having seen Everborn's Rogue Ally.
Setup, yes.
I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to kind of propose that to the budget committee. Wink, wink.
Hey, you know what it is.
I had to go to a similar thing for that 3D printer behind me, sir. So I know.
I know the deal. Appreciate you guys, man. Thank you. And for the people that jumped in from the VG Fight School channel, I really appreciate you guys. Subscribe to this podcast. I just realized I hadn't subscribed. I've been watching and listening, so I subscribed. So I say, guys and gals, jump on in, man. Appreciate y'all.
Oh, bro.
Hey, VG, man. I also want to say the link that you got to come here is the same link every week. So anytime you want to come in and just like chop it up, or maybe there's a big news event for the week, you are always welcome.
Like Paris Lily, you got the key, and that key doesn't expire, sir.
Awesome.
You're always welcome here.
Thank you guys so much.
To have you back on when you have some time. You are now part of the community.
Oh, you went on mute, Kay. Oh, you went on mute. You back now?
You're back.
Oh, yeah. My bad. Okay. I was just saying that we really appreciate all the time that you spent with us. You are part of the community now. We definitely want to have you back whenever you have some time. As Everborn was saying, that key will continue to work. It doesn't expire. So awesome. Thank you so much for being here, sir.
Thank you all very much. I put
the channel in the chat. If you have not hit that link, please do so. Go show the man some love. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed to his channel already. Great individual. Interesting takes. We always appreciate new great voices here. Thank you, VG, for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all. Bye.
VG Fight School and coffee is the great way to start the day, is what I say.
Let us finish the super chats, and we'll get to one or two more stories, and we'll get out of here. So we did that one, and let's see. Would this be Fiasco? $2 super chat. He says the feed to the podcast stopped updating at episode 148. Yes, he's talking about the audio feed, and I'm aware of that. Spotify is being a little shady with their pursuits. I'm actually working on that right now. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you. I'll make sure I get that back on track. Thanks for the feedback there. Sycamore 7, $5 super chat. Thank you for being here, Sycamore. He says, to make matters worse, now GeForce Now is a native access on Steam Deck. Yeah, that's a whole different conversation, man. That's a whole different thing. Like Steam Deck's one is native, Xbox One still requires a lot of tweaking and twerking to get it working. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Slow-mo backslap, $5 super chat. He says, I'm considering buying a Steam Deck OLED. K and Ever, do you know my gaming habits? Am I just bored, or should I do this?
Okay, I'm gonna say this. I think that you do like games like Hades, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you can play a lot of games like No Rest for the Wicked, which I think Slow-mo would like. And I think for your indie gaming ambitions, it'll be a great device.
I agree. For games where the priority is the creativity and the gameplay and this and that, like you said, Hades 2, what do you call it? The Lamb game. What's the name? I forget the name of the
Lamb.
Cult of the Lamb. Those kind of games. Death's Door. It is perfection for that.
Sea of Stars.
Sea of Stars. Exactly. But don't expect to get a handheld and play Cyberpunk. Right? Yes, you can do it. 100% you can. This does it very well. But even that is not the priority for that device. They're meant more for the smaller fare.
I find that I enjoy the sort of 2D kind of indie games more in the handheld experience, and then the big
Absolutely.
AAA stuff I play on the
On the
big
dog, yeah.
screen.
Yep.
And that's how I've handled it. So if if you have designs on some of the smaller indie games, then it's definitely, especially since Silk Song will eventually come out.
Exactly. It's
It'll
those
be
kind
great.
of games that play really good, because those OLED screens, and they're small, and they come that you can hold them up to your face, and it's just great having small devices that you can play those on. Shout out to the great Web Dave, $2 super chat. He says, I can't wait to meet the community in person, sir. Can't wait to meet you, sir. It's gonna be fun. Looking forward to it. I hope Everborn Saga feels jealous, because he should be. You should be coming with us, sir. You should be coming with us. You should be
Next
coming.
time.
I know, sir. I know. And then we have Jelani the Saviors Woods for $10 super chat. He says, sup fellas and sup VG. I worked on and off for Microsoft Gaming since 2007. Oh, salute to you, including launching Games for Windows Live. Wow. You're welcome. No longer under NDA. I got stories. Good times though. Sir, we would love to hear some of your stories. You are welcome to join us, man. I would love to hear some of that stuff. Holla at us in the DMs. Join the Discord. We have a few folks who work in various locations in our Discord. Always fun conversations there, talking about old horror stories and the like. You're welcome to join us. That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here and lending your voice to the conversation. So, okay, let's get back to a couple of things that you brought up that I wanted to just touch on, and then we'll get out of here, because I think we're rounding the bottom of the show. One being, and I know you're probably sad about it. I'm sad about it. You talked about it. EA canceling Black Panther game. What are your thoughts?
When I first heard about this, I thought it was the Captain America.
You thought this was Amy Hennig's game.
I was like, no.
That's right. I thought it was Amy Hennig's game. Yeah.
But did we ever see any clips from this, or did we just get the logo?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
What do you expect? If they've been working on it this long and we haven't seen anything, not even like a sizzle reel. I'm worried about the 1943 game still. Because
it got delayed before.
Yeah,
it got delayed before this news. Yeah, I am worried about it.
This is like that Wonder Woman game cancellation.
True. The reason this is a little sad is anybody who played the Avengers game, which admittedly was trash, the live service components, but the campaigns were so damn good. And the last campaign that they added, the last DLC campaign they added, was Black Panther, and it was just, it had it, man. It really, really had it. Like, and just the idea that when that was brought into the zeitgeist, it made these announcements more exciting, because that had a spark, and that when they focused their energy specifically on that hero, they could really make the world bigger and make the whole thing better. It's kind of sad that it's not happening. It's kind of sad. I'll be honest.
Whatever about the game, like the whole studio's getting shut down behind.
It's getting shut down. Yeah. Which is just like, oh man, like what the hell? Now, this is not a studio with a long history of games in under its belt, at least not in its current iteration. Cliffhanger Games, right? Like it's not like a studio that's well known for its gaming prowess, but I suspect it probably comes with a lot of other studio heads. So okay, it was a new studio that was developed to run by Kevin Stevens, who was the head of the studio who made Shadow of Mordor, which makes sense now, because at the time when this thing was canceled, they said they were working on a system that also mimicked the Nemesis system. It wasn't the Nemesis system, but it mimicked the Nemesis system. And in closing this, they've closed that as well, which makes sense now that you hear that Kevin Stevens, who worked on Middle Earth, Shadow of Mordor, where the Nemesis system came from. Yeah,
I just think these days we have to be weary of any announcements that don't have like fully fleshed out gameplay, right? Anybody that's just showing you sizzle reels, anybody that's only showing you a cutscene, especially anybody that's only showing you a logo, That's all that is until you can show me like
Until you
some
see something real.
unedited play test footage.
No doubt.
You know, and again, I noticed the industry has moved a lot away from vertical slices, but I really have to wonder if, you know, when you make a vertical slice, like you kind of know what the game is going to be. And it seems like, you know, maybe that's a worthwhile thing, if only to say, this is the bar we're going for. This is what it's going to play like from the vertical slice. And then, you know, you can build out your other levels and your story from there. But at least it's not something where you figure out you don't have a good product 3 or 4 years into the
years after. Yeah, kind of nuts, right? Well, we're like 85% complete done with this live service. Maybe we don't want to make a live service game. Go fig. Very strange. It is what it is. Yeah. I will say it is unfortunate. Like I playing the Avengers game like I did, and I played that Avengers game on Xbox. I like through all the way through the campaign, played it on PlayStation all the way through the campaign, even started dabbling in it on PC a little bit. I loved those campaigns. The Kamala Khan one was really good. The Black Panther one again was really good. All of them were good. The live service was trash. It is what it is. So this is sad for me, but hopefully the Amy Hennig game does come to fruition, because if that gets canceled, knock on wood.
Listen, I don't know anything anymore. I thought last week I thought a Black Panther game and an Xbox handheld was coming out, and look where we are today.
And look where we are today. You know what I mean? It is what it is. What are you gonna do? All right,
down is up, and cats are friends with dogs.
Cats and dogs sleeping with. Yes, true. Yes. All right. I want to end this thing with our thoughts about the Xbox game showcase and what we think will be.
There's one more thing we got to talk about before you get to that.
Before we talk to that, I wanted to talk about Shuhei Yoshida's comments. Is that
well? I had another thing, but we can.
Okay, what you got?
Apple is opening or launching a dedicated gaming experience.
Yes.
And what does that mean for you know, the rest of the industry, for Epic's efforts to create their own store? What does it mean for you know, gaming?
So it's a gaming hub.
It's a gaming hub, right? And it's going to replace their what is their gaming experience now on
Arcade?
No. That's the subscription service, but it's the game something. I don't know.
I know what you mean. Like the little game, like it's almost like their game UI.
Yeah. So that's going to be replaced with this, and this will be a place where you could like buy Game Center. Yeah. They're going to centralize your achievements. You'll be able to purchase games directly from there. So it almost separates that from the App Store and has the games in that experience. And it will be, obviously it'll have achievements and things like that. And it'll be available across all iOS devices, meaning your Apple TV, your iPad, your iPhone. And so an Apple TV is connected to the TV, right? And you can connect a Bluetooth controller to it. And so if you have a gaming hub, which is like a whole gaming experience, doesn't that effectively make your Apple TV a console?
You have been floating this ever since they did this Sonic exclusive game that you were really like hyped about. You have been floating this idea
that's the game, by the way. Sonic Dream Team.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You've been floating this idea that they have sneakily created a set-top box that's a console under your TV out of nowhere. Like I can see where some of that energy comes from, but I don't think they have taken it quite seriously enough. Maybe this is them finally heading in that direction.
Yeah, right? I mean, every time Apple does something in gaming, everybody kind of like starts like getting super excited or shaking in their boots. It's like, oh, look what the M4 chip can do with metal, and they're gonna have Resident Evil 4.
You did see this news too, right? They bought this studio who makes Sasquatch, a game studio. Yeah. Oh, canaries in coal mines, yes.
So, like, I get it, right? It's always going to be this thing. But I think the thing to think about is if they're gonna do this game experience, right? Like, you know, Apple has like 2 billion devices out there, right? If they just get 10% of the people, you're talking about 200 million people, which is basically the size of it.
That's what they're doing now, right? They're literally just sitting back doing absolutely nothing, and they are a huge name in gaming just by giving you a platform to where games are distributed. They're literally just collecting the check and not lifting a finger to do it. So yeah, I hear you. This might be somebody going, hey, maybe we should take this thing serious.
Yeah, and again, I'm just thinking of new places you can play these games, right? So you know, a lot of people have these kind of devices under their TVs, these Apple TVs or whatever else. But when you look at like, okay, they want to do this app, which is basically a gaming UI and a store in one, and prioritize achievements. When you look at the controller support that they've added, when you look at the games like Death Stranding and Resident Evil that are being ported to there, you wonder, could these things become another endpoint for people that play AAA games? And again, before Game Logic comes after me with a pitchfork, I am not saying you know, they're going to turn mobile gamers into AAA gamers or core gamers or whatever, and vice versa. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, for the people that are into the sort of into core gaming, could these things make Apple another endpoint, another surface for us to play those games, right? Some of us game on console, some of us game on PC. What if other of us were gaming on ARM devices that were under our TVs and in our hands, you know?
I honestly think that while I think that they are seeing it, and you're right, they are seeing that it is worthy to spend some time in this segment. I don't think what the actions they're making right now will translate to majority beyond Apple's own ecosystem. Right? And this again, is just cultivating the existing ecosystem base to take gaming a bit more seriously. And to your point, even if it's 10% of the public that already owns one of their devices takes it seriously, that's a huge chunk of change for them. So that is very much.
And again, what I'm talking about is like 10 years out. And now that's the aspirational view, like as someone who is interested in the technology and what an ecosystem like that could bring to the core gaming space, right? But let's talk about the cynical side of this and what this is really about, right? They just got slapped by the federal courts, which forced them to allow other game stores on their platform.
Back on, all that.
Right.
Yep.
And so Fortnite's back. You're going to have these game stores, and they're going to have to compete with that. And so what do? Hey, we're actually going to have to compete now. Let's put a store out there that will have all the games that are already here, and we just need to make sure we're the default experience for game stores, and so that we can crush any sort of oncomers or competition. And so, sure, Epic, you're going to put out a store, but what are you going to do? It's not going to compare to what we have if we're going to funnel all our games through that. And sure, Microsoft, you may be biding your time and waiting till we go through this appeal process and let Epic take all the arrows so you could come and do the cleanup kill, but you're not going to be better than us because we're going to cement that thing, right? There's a lot of other email apps you can use, right? There's a lot of other browsers you can use on iOS, but most people use Safari, right? And so that's what they're trying to do now, I think, with this store. They'll have to compete with other stores, and so let's just cement that. And that's all it is. Them doing the bare minimum to maintain the status quo.
To maintain the status quo and maintain their grip on those in their ecosystem. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
But I hope it's the former and not the latter. Although it's probably
you know it's the latter. Stop it. You know it's the latter. So Mr. Inferno Games left a not a super chat. He left a chat that I pinned that I really wanted to get back to. So I kind of want to talk about this one before we get out of here, and we'll leave Shuhei's comment to Shuhei. I think Shuhei's a good dude. I like Shuhei a lot.
Shuhei acknowledged his bias, so he sees things through the PlayStation lens. So whatever.
It is what it is.
Xbox bad. Game Pass is going to destroy the industry. Sure. Yes. Episode number 48.
Mr. Inferno Games left this chat that I thought was super interesting. So let's talk about this. He says, I don't want Microsoft to explain to me why they suck. Change it. Yes, they are the crown. The crown is heavy, but it's a weight. It's the weight of being of having to bear and being the king. What do you think of that? That it doesn't matter why they are where they are. Screw it to consumers. Just fix it. Because you are the king and you know, yeah.
The consumer doesn't need to know how the sausage is made. Right? Like that, it just is what it is. You're offering a product, a competitor is offering a product. Your problems to get that product to market are not my problems. My problem is how I'm going to come up with the money to pay for what I want. And now I came up with that money and now I got to choose who's giving me the thing I want. Are you giving it to me or are you not? Anything else is just bumping your gums and it doesn't really matter because you don't care about me. Your job is to separate me from my money. If you want to do that, then you're going to have to.
This is what I need. That's right. Yes. And what you're describing there is what I call that transactional relationship. Absolutely. So let's get out of here. As we get out of here, final question. The Xbox showcase. They have been throwing so many games at the Game Pass, so many games on their platform. And everything is culminating in June. We don't know what's happening after June. What games are we seeing? What do you expect to play before the end of this year, Everborn? Go.
Things that have not been announced or because there's Ninja Gaiden 4.
Both. I don't think Ninja Gaiden 4. I think them showing it off the way they did, that's probably next year. I think. I don't know.
I mean, they said it was coming out this year. They didn't.
Did they?
Yeah, they said it was coming out this fall.
Then maybe we see more of it here. That's an interesting concept. Yeah.
And they've been showing gameplay of it, so it's like they're moving along.
It is closer to done. It is closer to done. Okay. Do you think we see? And this is for everybody in the chat as well. Do you think we see Clockwork Revolution, for example? Like what else do we see here?
Okay, so here's the list of things that we need to see, and then we can talk about what we might see. Right? There's Everwild, right? There's Clockwork Revolution. There is State of Decay 3. There is Contraband. And
by the way, do you think OBM is onto something here? The lack of console stakes has taken the edge off.
I don't think so. I think this is the thing, right? It's in a time where a lot of mind share is going to Nintendo, right? Like we didn't even talk about that. We are on the eve of the Switch 2 release. That comes out this Thursday, right?
Yes, it does.
And I also think Microsoft, as far as their game showcases go, have been pretty good about leaks, right? So if we look at the last January showcase, we didn't know that we were going to get a shadow drop there until maybe like the day before that started hitting the rounds. So I think if things are going to leak like that, like it'll be like Thursday or Friday. I do think there'll be a lot of excitement
in other words,
around
stay
the
off
show.
Social on Thursday and Friday if you care.
Yeah, I mean, fall back is what I've been doing. I don't know if I want to say there's no excitement around it. I think it's just been so standard that they over deliver at these showcases that people just expect them to do something great. Now, I think the question will be to see, well, what is the excitement afterwards, right? And I'm almost certain you're going to see the logos of the other platforms there. And so that'll be a discussion, but then I think there'll be even more talk just because the games that they're going to show are going to be for everybody. This is going to be a bigger multi-platform showcase than the Summer Games Fest, right? I'm just interested in seeing Everwild, Perfect Dark. Like, can we get a release date on Perfect Dark? Although release dates don't mean anything. And the one I think I'm most excited for is Everwild.
You really think Everwild will be there?
I'm 50-50 on it, but I'm hoping it is.
Okay. I'm excited to see whatever it turns into. Honestly, I am. Whatever it turns into, because at this point, it's just curiosity. It's just morbid curiosity as to what this thing lands as. Because at some point, they didn't even know what kind of game it was going to be. So I don't know the genre. I don't know anything.
That's why they should have did a vertical slice, right, Slow-mo? But
anyway, yes,
yeah, I'm excited for it, but like I said, there's a lot happening right now just in gaming, and like we don't get new generation hardware launches very often, and that's what we're getting on Thursday. So I think more of my mind share is kind of on that, and then this is going to be this is just like icing on that cake on Sunday when the show is, and then if there's a shadow drop, then we can talk about some excitement.
So, all right, being that it seems like sometimes they do things on purpose, right? A lot of Outer Worlds 2 energy being talked about. I'm actually thinking of replaying through Outer Worlds 1 to prepare. So there's a lot of Outer Worlds 2. There will be the Outer Worlds 2 Direct following the actual showcase. So clearly we're going to see
I have a
more
question
footage of that.
Outer Worlds 2, $70 or $80?
I don't even think it should be $70 because the first one wasn't.
I didn't ask you what it should be. I asked you what it will be.
What it will be. It'll probably be $70. It won't be 80. It'll probably be 70.
They're giving the hero status of giving it its own direct after
own
their
direct.
main yearly showcase.
Well, you know what?
So
talk to me after the direct. Talk to me after the direct. How about that? But see, Big Mad Mo says 60. I'm
asking you to predict, and you telling me like after the direct to tell you like what are we doing here?
Oh, no, but once you see the quality they have of the game, then the price will make itself.
No, that's not how predictions work, sir. What I need you to take a guess.
70. Fine, I'll say 70.
All right,
just a guess.
Okay, no. And Machine XP says it's 70 is already announced. Newly announced games seem to potentially be okay.
Should be 80. Okay, so they've already said it was 70. Well, there you go.
I haven't heard that, but I'll take his word for it.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that either.
All right, so over under.
But here's the thing, real quick, because they tend to do things on purpose. They have E-Day shirts on here. They have like Halo 2 for some reason. Does any of this matter, or this is just random photos being taken?
I definitely think you can see E-Day there. Do you
Halo
get the
2?
Halo announcement for PlayStation?
Hey, that's the thing.
Is it Master Chief Collection? Because it feels like maybe that's what they would do first.
Maybe, yeah.
Now, here's another question. Over under 50%. That Square will finally drop FF7.
Nah. I'm on that. I'm on that Square. That until you see the trilogy completely come out, don't expect to ever see it or hear it announced for Xbox. Yeah. It needs to all be out, and then they'll release like a trilogy bundle or whatever for Xbox.
Okay.
If they do at all.
I am basically I'm basically like I'm gonna go over 50%. Maybe just 51%. Maybe it's just 51%. But I think
50.5.
Yeah. I think they let Nintendo announce it because they were doing the new thing and they saved it for a pop to be here at the show. So 51%, it'll beat it.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's that for us this week. If you like the new format, let us know in these in the comment section when this thing posts. We like to put the main stories on Front Street, and then on the end we talk about the games we've been playing. Mr. Everborn Saga, sir.
Yet. Okay.
I was about to say, Mr. Everborn Saga, sir. While we're heading out, tell us the games you've been playing this week.
Well, the games I picked up versus the games I'm playing this week are two very different conversations.
Okay.
But as you know, I recently finished Expedition 33. It is up there with the game of the generations, man. Like this.
Oh boy.
We're gonna do a spoiler cast about it.
Everybody in the glizzying conversations about Expedition.
Yeah. Just talk to me after you finish Act 2, then we can have some discussion, sir. But I've moved into Doom: The Dark Ages.
Yeah, which I'm playing as well.
I'm on chapter 4.
Okay.
I think it's very good. And it seems like you unlock more abilities in each chapter
as you go. Yeah,
22 chapters. Yeah. So I'm interested.
I've been told to spend a lot of my unlock energies on the shield because you want that shield to get as powerful as quickly as possible. So there's that. That's what I hear.
All right, wish I'd have known that before my first 2 upgrades, but I'll keep that in mind.
Yes, keep it all on the shield. More shield, better. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's some things that like are a little bit different than Eternal. I was a big fan of the glory kills, but now it's just sort of glory attacks and
glory-less kills.
Yeah. So it's other than that, interesting. I like it. I think they've kept the quality bar to where we expect, and I'm having fun with it. And maybe I'll knock it out this week and next week, and then I'll go into Stellar Blade, which I skipped on PlayStation.
Oh yeah, I need to jump on that on PC.
So that's one of the games that I picked up. I can't remember. I got it on sale. Can't remember for what, but let me tell you some of the other games that I just added to the collection. Okay, so we have Symphonia, which is it's on Game Pass now, but I got it on Steam through CD Keys. That's a that's like a Metroidvania. Has a lot of what do you call it vibes? It's like Ori and Hollow Knight vibes there.
Okay.
I also picked up The Siege and the Sand Fox. This is a Metroidvania, but it is a stealth-focused Metroidvania, so you have to hide. And it is funny you say that because I can't pronounce it. Pipistrello is the next thing that I was just going to come to.
Hey, Alex. You are right on time, sir. Well done.
You're a man of taste and culture, sir. So that one I'm gonna get into as well. I may end up trying the 3 of those to see if I'm gonna do that before jumping into Stellar Blade. Because usually what I do with these games is I'll play one AAA and then go do like some 2D indie thing as a palate cleanser, and then I'll come back and do another AAA game. But this time I went straight from Expedition to Doom. But there's a lot of months in the summer, and I don't plan on playing Gears 1 again or Tony Hawk. So unless there's some shadow drops, I'm going to have some free months in the summer to knock out these games and maybe Stellar Blade. We'll see. Maybe I don't even like Stellar Blade, but we'll find out.
Them yams, though. But needless to say, before you're done here, tell the people where else they can keep up with your ongoings this week. I know you're prolific in our Discord, as you should be.
Well, okay.
I know that the people can save 15% if they happen to check out everbornsaga.com and happen to make any purchases there by using the code GCP at checkout. What else should they know, sir?
All right. I wanna tell people before. Yes, if you want to find me, you want to talk to me, Discord is the place to go. You can go to everbornsaga.com. We got a whole new line of clothes, as I've been demoing for you guys. It's 15% off your whole order if you check code GCP at checkout. That's all capital letters. But I want to talk to you guys about the Discord, right? We are in that Discord. Somebody, it might be me, might be Kay, but there's usually 10 or more of us in the Discord just talking about you name it, not just games. Sometimes it's film, sometimes it's music, sometimes it's politics, sometimes it's like life, sometimes it's just goddamn philosophy. And so there's a lot of great conversations happening there, and I want to sort of implore everyone to join the Discord because we are planning a Patreon, and I don't want to jump the gun here, But what I'm saying is all the features that you have now are godfathered in for anyone who is a member of the Discord today and before we start going the Patreon route. So I would say if you're listening and you're not a member of the Discord, become a member now, because some things are going to go behind Patreon in the future. But anyone who's a member of the Discord now is godfathered in. So join the Discord. It's great fun. It's great entertainment. And I don't know when the Patreon thing's happening. It will happen. And I'm just saying, if you're not in the Discord, you are missing out. And once again, we want to honor all the people that rock with us now. So anybody who's a member before we go live with the Patreon will be godfathered in for forever. So join the Discord. If that's not enough of a plug.
By the way, for those who may not know what it is and why it is, there's a lot of plans happening. You will see. We will share more details in future episodes, and you'll see more on the channel. You'll see a lot of folks. Maybe on this channel, you'll start to see a bit more gaming content. Some of the folks in the Discord community want to do like community game nights where they're playing through all of the Halo Master Chief Collection, for example. So there's a lot that will be brought on this channel, and we appreciate that community for doing so. If you want to be a part of a community, just put the Discord links in the chat. Go ahead and hit that button, and you will be invited to join us and partake in some of those great conversations. Shout out to the great Scott Gamer Dude for becoming a YouTube member. He himself is also a member of our Discord, always in there having great conversations. So thank you for also being a member here. I think that's about it for us. Before we get out of here, I will say housekeeping note at the top. Next week we will not have a show because, as you know, next week is heading closely towards that time frame of the interesting conversations that we will have in the gaming space with the June showcase and the like. So there will be content on the channel. I expect you will see some content on the channel, but
can you talk about that thing yet or no?
No, we cannot talk about that thing yet, but there's a thing, ladies and gentlemen. Oh boy, is there a thing. There's a thing.
I'll just say you'll be very proud of GCP.
So proud. Oh my God, we have made it. Anyway, come and we will be in the Discord, whether there's a show or not. So keep up with us on Discord. Keep us on Twitter. You know, me more than Everborn Saga, as he has stepped back from Twitter a bit. Keep up with all the ongoings on the various social platforms. Shout out to the great VG Fight School for joining us. Excellent human being. Awesome content that he presents. He awesome member of our panel. Was great on the show. And of course, the great Paris Lily, who's always beyond reproach when he jumps in and decides to come and squash all the slander in our chats. So thank you Paris, and thank you VG for being here. Anything else, Everborn? I think that's it, man. That's we're about done, right?
Yeah, I need to set up this printer, man. I'm very excited.
Well, all right. Well, that's it. I gotta go and play with the MSI claw. Gotta go play with my claw. Pause.
Hey, yo.
Till next week. Peace.
Thanks for being on it.